Hello,
Hello,
everyone, and welcome to the final conference. Go ahead, Line.
welcome also from my side to the final conference, FoodFactory for us. My name is Line Lindner, and you see my colleague, Catherine Flynn. We are both from the ISEKI-Food Association. You can switch the slide, Catherine, please. ISEKI-Food Association is an independent European non-profit organization bridging education, research, and industry in the food chain. We are a network of universities, research institutions, associations, and food companies, and also a platform for teachers, students, trainers, and food professionals. We have special interest groups. We conduct and implement and develop training and teaching activities such as workshops and seminars. And we have an e-journal and e-news. And every second year we organize international conferences. And the next one is this summer in Cyprus on the Sustainable Development Goals in food systems. We're also partner of several EU-funded projects in the framework of Horizon 2020 and Erasmus+. And one of these projects is the Next Food project, which is a Horizon 2020 project funded by the European Commission. The project has 19 partners worldwide, and it's coordinated by SLU in Sweden. At the centerpiece of this project is 12 cases, teaching and learning cases in 12 different geographical locations in Europe, Africa, and Asia. And all these 12 cases are exploring experiential, action-based, and action-oriented learning. And ISEKI-Food Association is running one of these 12 cases, and that's case number 4, and that is the FoodFactory for Us competition. You can switch the slide. I'd like to give you a short fact check about the competition. So we have been running, as part of ISEKI-Food Association, the competition FoodFactory for Us since 2019. On different topics, on enhancement of shelf life of foods, on fighting food, energy, and water losses, and on sustainable agriculture. Every time the competition is organized around teams of master students, and the teams are composed of 3 to 5 students. The main objective of the competition is to encourage student teams to design a solution on the competition theme relevant to the food industry. And by participating in the competition, the student teams work on a real food industry-based sustainability problem. And in such, they improve their specific knowledge and competences and their cooperation skills and awareness of the importance and benefits of teamwork in a competitive environment. We always have a board of academic and industry representatives that choose the winning team. That means that the project evaluation is real. It's carried out by the food industry and or food associations who in collaboration with academics evaluate the project. You can switch the slide. As such, the competition is taking place in an online learning environment with an international orientation with focus on fostering a participatory, learner-centric and action-oriented learning experience for the students to share their knowledge and improve their skills in a virtual environment. Typically, a competition cycle lasts 4.5 months. Once the competition is running, the student teams begin working on their projects in parallel to the learning activities, which consist of 5 trainings and webinars. These 5 trainings are always the same. The first one is a student presentation webinar where one team member from each team has a 5-minute to talk about a practical experience they had in the food chain. During this cycle of the competition, the students gave presentations about practical experiences on farms, in food companies, and also startup companies. The virtual visit webinar is a webinar where companies present a case study in which they explain a process or product-related problem and also how they solved it. In this cycle, we had presentations on ohmic heating of gluten-free bread and on beer fermentation. The student suggestion webinar is a webinar where students are asked beforehand to submit suggestions of 3 topics related to the competition theme. All these topics are dealt with by the members of the advisory board. Then we have the project review webinar, which are single meetings with each team taking place close to the deadline for submitting the project report. That gives the team the possibility to review the progress of their report and pose questions. The soft skill webinar has as its purpose to equip students with skills for giving strong presentations. And here we rehearsed the elevator pitch, which is a presentation technique of briefly and concisely presenting a topic. You can switch the slide. But now we'll turn to this year's FoodFactory FOSS Sustainable Supply Chain Competition. And the topic of this year's cycle was sustainability in the cereal chain. Like the food value chain as a whole, the cereal chain is also facing the global environmental challenges of water and energy scarcity, lack of arable land, rising temperatures, extreme weather conditions, but also demographic challenges such as rising population levels and malnutrition, as well as issues related to food losses and waste. And the need for innovative solutions that face these challenges is extremely important today, especially in the cereals industry. And ancient grains can play an increasingly important role in light of these challenges, as ancient grains generally require less water, tend to be more tolerant of extreme weather conditions than other crops, and they also pose nutritional benefits. Against this backdrop, since November last year, the student teams have been working on finding solutions to how ancient grains or alternative grains can contribute to improve sustainability of the cereal chain. You can switch the slide, please. So, the call for applications to the competition opened in October 2019 last year, and we had 14 teams applying for the competition. Unfortunately, 2 teams dropped out, but there have been 12 teams, that's more than 50 students, working on finding solutions to how ancient or alternative grains can contribute to improve sustainability in the cereal chain. And the 12 teams, which you see here on the slide, all with very international backgrounds, are from universities in the Ukraine, in France, Netherlands, Italy, Sweden, and Greece. You can switch the slide, please. So since November, all teams have been working independently, as I said, on their project report, which they submitted by 15th of February. And since then, we have had an advisory board consisting of experts in cereal science from academia as well as industry that have been evaluating 3 main parts. So they've been evaluating the project reports on the basis of the quality of the strategy and development against the problem description and the overall quality of the project report. They've also been evaluating the project concept in terms of innovation, application to industry, its impact, and the group interaction and teamwork based on the participation in the webinars. And finally, they've also been evaluating the presentation slides in terms of quality and clarity. And now, during the presentations, the advisory board members who are present in the audience as attendees will also be evaluating the method of delivery and the response to questions. That's also why we will take a 10-minute break after the last presentation for us to collect all points given by the advisory board before being able to announce the winning team. That would be around 10 to 4. You can switch the slide, please. But as you know, we will be finding a winner of the competition. And we were very grateful for the sponsoring of these really great prizes and for the support that we've received, especially from ICC and HADB. So just to summarize, we have really great prizes for the winning team. The winning team will receive an award of 300 euros, sponsored by ISEKI-Food Association. Then we have a free conference registration for 3 students of the winning team to present the team project at the 7th Whole Grain Summit in November this year. That's sponsored by ICC, that's the International Association for Cereal Science and Technology. And finally, we have an award of 250 euros sponsored by HADB, that's the Agricultural and Horticultural Development Board in the UK. Of course, all participants will receive certifications of participation issued by ISEKI-Food Association. You can switch again, please, to the last slide. So before we now give the floor to our 12 competing teams, I'd like to summarize the rules of the game. So we are recording this session, and you can watch it afterwards if you're interested, or you can send it to your colleagues. It will be, you can find it on the FoodFactory FOSS, the website. We have, each team has 10 minutes. We have to be very strict on this, otherwise we won't be able to finish by 4 o'clock. They have 10 minutes to give the presentation, followed by 2 to 3 minutes for questions from the audience. You're very welcome to ask questions. Just raise your hand to pose a question orally, then we will open your microphone and you can ask the question to the team. I'd also like to remind all the presenters of the teams to keep your microphones muted when you're not speaking to avoid any background noise. And now I think we should begin. So I will hand over to Catherine, who will be moderating the presentations. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much, Line, for giving us the introduction and the background. And I'm going to go straight ahead to introduce the first team. And our first presenters today are the Buckwheat Synergy team. And I will turn over to them for their 10-minute presentation about buckwheat as a solution for the growing global food demand.
Buckwheat Synergy, you have to open your microphone and please turn on your camera.
Right. Yeah, it's on. Let me see the camera. I think you can see my screen or not yet?
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. You can see my screen, right?
We see your screen, yes.
Okay, perfect. So
can you see me?
Yeah.
We only see one of you.
Okay.
But that's
yeah.
I think
go ahead.
Yeah, okay, I'll start. So welcome everybody. We are very happy to start and present our projects, Buckwheat Synergy. So this is the outline of the presentation, and I will first start by diving into the reasons and the informations that really triggered us and really motivate us to launch this project. So it all started with a simple realization that the dairy industry is under immense pressure. And this is because milk and dairy consumption is decreasing throughout Europe, both for health and environmental reasons. So as you know, meat and dairy were estimated to be responsible for around 12 to 17% of the total greenhouse gas emissions, but it also negatively affects land use, water resources, and biodiversity. So European consumers' preferences are currently shifting away from milk products and red meat towards plant-based foods. And there is a high demand for plant-based foods. There is already a lot of innovation, but there is really space and opportunity for much more, and the demand is very high. So it has been all over the news. Plant-based food is really a big thing. So this consumer shift is extremely positive because it will help meet the commitment of the European Union to reduce greenhouse gas emission by at least 40% by 2030, and has a lot of other environmental benefits. However, this much needed shift is actually leaving EU dairy and cattle farmers in an uncertain and very difficult situation. So we are changing our consumer pattern, but we do not think about the producers of our food that are left behind and actually rely on this for their livelihood. And these farmers actually need to be empowered. So this reality is really what motivated us to undertake this project. So actually it all started with a seminar with Parmalat, which is part of Lactalis, that really raised the concern that these dairy farmers are struggling and have a lot of complaints. So this is where Buckwheat Synergy actually comes into the play. So the Buckwheat Synergy is actually the first part of a wider framework called the Synergy Framework that we developed to empower dairy farmers. So it's a solution-based framework to help farmers to implement a business model switch from the threatened and unsustainable dairy industry towards a sustainable, profitable, and health-promoting food industry based on cereals and legumes. So Buckwheat Synergy is really one of the solutions that this Synergy Framework propose and gives. So what is really Buckwheat Synergy? It's a solution that has two sides. First, it will incite and will motivate dairy farmers to partially and gradually replace their grazing land, which might be actually relatively unfertile depending on the region where they are and on their activity, with buckwheat crops. So then farmers will be provided with the buckwheat unit, which is a small modular processing plant developed by us to turn buckwheat crops into plant-based added value foods, such as milk, flour, but many more, such as yogurt, biscuits, etc. So now Mara is going to explain why buckwheat is really a 360 solution for these dairy farmers.
Exactly. So why did we choose buckwheat first of all? So buckwheat, compared to other crops, actually contains all the essential amino acids. It's an important source of macro and micro elements such as zinc, copper, etc. And it has been shown to prevent diabetes, hypertension, and obesity. As a plant, buckwheat requires a very low amount of water, and that can help in the future to tackle with the problem of the climate change and the increase of droughts that we are going to face. It's also a plant that attracts bees that, as we all know, are very important for the biodiversity of the environment. And they're actually nitrogen fixing plants. So they are able to turn an unfertile soil into a productive one. Moreover, buckwheat has no waste stream because the full crop is utilized for the food, and during the harvest, only stems can be considered as a waste, but these stems can be dried and used as a feed for the feedstock. So, as I said before, buckwheat contains all the essential amino acids. That means that, as we can see from this table, it contains also a high amount of lysine. Lysine is actually the essential amino acid that is generally missing in all the other crops, and that makes the proteins of these grains actually less utilizable by our human body. So buckwheat has a protein that is very similar to the eggs. That is the reference protein defined by the FAO organization. So buckwheat in this case can be seen as a really valid milk alternative. And as Maud mentioned before, we are providing the farmers with buckwheat unit. Buckwheat unit is a modular processing plant that we developed. And it consists of three parts. So firstly, the crops will be grinded where the water will also spilled out. So we will have this grinding system with the water, and then the plant-based milk can be collected in the chamber, and the leftover can be dried in the second chamber where it will also be grinded again so that flour will be produced. And additionally, other system can be added by the farmers that are really willing to diversify their income with a variety of products, so that they can produce also yogurt or dessert or bakery products, for example. So let's have a look at the numbers. 1 kg of buckwheat can be turned into 4.5 liters of milk and 250 grams of fiber-rich flour. These numbers are not just random numbers, but come from an experiment that has been carried out in our university, where a variety of products have been developed during 3 months project. So we also developed and test these products also in the sensory lab, and we measure also the acceptability that was very successful. So let's have a look now at the potential applicability of this project. In Europe, we have very big producers of milk, such as Germany and France, and no buckwheat products are still on the market, but the vegan market, as we said before, is increasing and spreading all over Europe. So the potential applicability is actually very high in Europe. And the innovation that is behind this project is also very high, because the farmers will have the possibility to choose whichever products they want. And so the buckwheat unit will be actually really customized and relying on the creativity of the farmers. So to meet their requirements, their needs, this buckwheat unit will be added with the additional systems that we mentioned before. And the benefits will be, of course, for the farmers, but also for the environment and the human health, because we are producing very nutritious foods, reducing also the greenhouse emission and improving the soil quality. So to conclude, this project is a really feasible and 360 degrees solution for the cattle farmers that right now are really under threat. This project is innovative, applicable, and offers all the benefits for the planet, for the people, and for farmers. So as Maud said before, this project is just one part, the first part of this big framework that we want to implement to enable the farmer to with this transition. But it can be also utilized, this project, in the countries that actually under threat of malnutrition, because as I said before, buckwheat has a protein that is very good quality compared to all the other grains, because it contains all the amino acids, and that can be used as a solution for these developing countries where malnutrition is still very, very high. So this is our project, and I hope you are also excited as us to implement this beautiful cereal grain project. And these are all our references. So thank you for your attention.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Maud and the Buckwheat Synergy team. We will open the floor now to our attendees and ask, please, that you raise your hand to ask a question to the two presenters.
Any questions? I don't see the hands though. I don't know if I...
This is
Yes, we
Alfred
have
Maher
a...
from University of Life Sciences in Vienna. Do
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question referring the process of the buckwheat unit.
Yeah.
After harvesting, buckwheat has a hull. So normally you need a decortication process before you can start the milling and milk extraction process. Can you give me a comment about this?
Yeah, I will reply. So the buckwheat plant, for example, when we use wheat, generally we have like the bran is removed. But when we use buckwheat, it has no waste because there is no bran on the surrounding of the grain. So it's actually fully utilized, and the plant has actually only the stems that are like harvested. When you harvest the crops, you have also the stems that are like harvested, and those can be used actually for the cow's feed, for example. So it's sustainable. It's 360 degrees sustainable because of that, because the crops don't need any processing to be used for human food as a human food.
You can directly use it in the grinder to produce the milk.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Is that what we also did the same in like during our project, in the lab.
So as I understand correctly, you use in the buckwheat flour all the bran of the buckwheat seeds. Is it correctly understood?
Yeah, exactly. So one part will be grinded, so you will obtain the milk that will be filtered, of course, and the remaining parts, so the leftover, will be actually dried and grinded again, so that at the end you will obtain still a flour that you can use in other like bakery products.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We have time for one more question. Lini, do you see another hand up?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. I have a question about the farmers. If you have talked to many farmers, and how willing are they for this, and if they have some resistance for the change in the what they are producing?
Yeah, so actually 2 weeks ago or last week I was at a conference called Transforming Food System Under Changing Climate, and I actually got the opportunity to talk to farmers and talk to CEOs of the big companies here in Copenhagen, where I'm based. And they actually tell us that farmers are really, like the farmers and the CEO of this big companies, they are really willing to implement change. And they see these changes all around, and they want to follow up with the changes. They are not like, at least here in Denmark, because I'm focusing on Denmark at the moment, they are keen to implement change and to follow the trends and to answer the trends, because they also realize that this is their livelihoods and that this is really important for them. So I mean, for the ones that we have communicated to, we have had no resistance.
That's
yeah, I
great.
think this is a really important point. And I mean, we've seen all the riots of the farmers in Belgium also, that the dairy farmers are struggling with the prices. So they are more than willing to change their to shift, because here we're only talking about partial shift. We're not saying that they have to completely leave their main income, but also try to diversify, because this is really a big thing, diversification of income, to make the farmers more resilient to future changes of climate, but also of consumer preferences.
Okay, great. Thank you. And congratulations on your project. It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Thanks very much for the pertinent questions and the excellent responses. And we move now to our second team. And this team is called the Greenland Team. And they will talk to us about using Greek wheat land races for bread and pasta development. So I turn over now to the Greenland Team.
Yeah, I will make Eleni presenter.
Hello.
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 Hello. Do you see the presentation?
Yeah, we see your presentation.
Hello, everyone, and good luck to all the teams. We're the Greek team Greenland, and we're going to present to you our idea, which has to do with the use of Greek wheat land races for bread and pasta development. But first, let me introduce to you our team members. We have Karatassos Thomas, I am Katsika Eleni, our other lady, Polychronopoulou Angeliki, and last but not least, Sarah Thomas. We should also mention our faculty member, Dr. Styliani Protonotariou. So we came up with this idea by aiming to contribute to an improved sustainability in the cereal chain. To achieve this goal, we suggest the cultivation of land races, and more specifically of an ancient Greek wheat land race, the emmer wheat, and the use of this land race in order to produce added value bread and pasta. We also conducted technological and nutritional evaluation of that bread. So, how did we reach that idea? In order to do so, we took into account some of the basic factors that affect the cereal chain. Firstly, the rapid growth of the world's population has led to an increase in food demand. According to FAO, a projection of 786 million tons of wheat will be required annually for human use by 2025. Moreover, climate change has an adverse effect on agriculture, and we are focusing on the fact that modern wheat varieties require high input farming systems, which means high quantities of fertilizers, herbicides, and energy. Also, emmer wheat has the ability to grow in mountainous areas, which is a large part of the Greek landscape. Finally, we believe that plant biodiversity needs to be preserved, and that emmer wheat and land races in general can contribute to that. At this point, we should mention that Greek emmer wheat has not been studied in the past, and that the emmer wheat cultivated in Greece is from Italian origin.
The cultivation of modern wheat varieties requires high input farming systems, as we said before, and the final products lack nutritional value such as minerals in comparison to ancient wheat varieties. So, in order to produce sustainably and organic, fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides must be reduced significantly due to changing consumer demands towards environmental friendly production and more nutritious food options. Greek emmer wheat was chosen. As a result, emmer wheat can be cultivated in many places throughout Greece, thus enabling the growth of the country's farming and increasing wheat production. This change can have a significant impact on the farmer's life and income. For example, with the contract farming, and it can also give the opportunity to the younger generation to live big cities and work in the land. The next stage was to analyze the technological characteristics of the flour and bread. 3 different samples were tested. The first one was the Greek emmer without fertilization. The second one was the Greek emmer with fertilization, and the last one was the fertilized Italian emmer, which was cultivated in Greece. For the production of the 2 different Greek emmer breads, the ingredients that we were used were 2 grams of yeast, 56 grams of water, and 1.5 grams of salt for every 100 grams of flour. For the Italian emmer, 2 grams of yeast, 52 grams of water again, and 1.5 grams of salt for every 100 grams of flour. The ingredients were mixed for 8 minutes with a mixer, made into 70 grams doughs, fermented for 70 minutes at 35 degrees Celsius in a membered incubator, and finally baked in an electric oven at 180 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes.
So first of all, we calculated the technological characteristics of the 3 flours, specifically moisture, water activity, dry gluten, water holding capacity, protein content, and ash content. Some of the most important findings were that the dry gluten and water holding capacity of Italian emmer was significantly less than Greek unfertilized and Greek fertilized emmer flour. As well, protein content of the Greek emmer flours was significantly higher than Italian emmer flour and can be considered a high protein food for a wheat. Ash as well was higher, and we can see a difference between unfertilized and fertilized. Fertilized has more ash compared to the unfertilized one, and this is maybe due to the fact that fertilized plants have the ability to absorb more micronutrients compared to unfertilized ones. After that, we analyzed the technological characteristics of the 3 breads, specifically moisture, water activity, specific volume, hardness, pore diameter, max and mean, the density of the bread, available carbohydrates, and fiber content. From the results of these characteristics, we didn't find any significant difference between the 2 Greek emmer breads, whether it was fertilized or unfertilized, as well as the Italian emmer breads, despite the differences in the flour, except for the available carbohydrates, which were much less in the Greek emmer flour compared to the Italian, and as well, the fiber was a bit higher. In the next slide, we can see 4 photos of the breads. On the upper left, it's the Greek emmer unfertilized, upper right, Greek emmer fertilized, lower left, Italian emmer, and on the lower right, a bread which we made, which was from whole wheat commercial bread flour, just for the purposes of the clinical study that followed. So shortly, we conducted a clinical study with 14 healthy volunteers, all ate 4 different meals. The reference food was glucose, and we tested the three breads: the Greek emmer unfertilized, the Italian emmer, and the commercial bread which we made. All volunteers ate every time 50 grams of available carbohydrates. On the left, the chart, we can see the capillary blood glucose from baseline to 120 minutes. The glucose response of the 14 volunteers, and specifically on minutes 45 and 60, we can see that the volunteers who ate Greek emmer bread had significantly less glucose in their blood compared to both the reference food and the commercial bread. And on the right, we can see the area under the curve from baseline to 120 minutes after the first consumption of the foods. And from that, we calculated the glycemic index and glycemic load of the three breads. And we saw that the Greek Emma bread had a glycemic index of 65, which is considered a medium glycemic index compared to the 77 of the commercial one, which is a high glycemic index. And glycemic load is 7, which is a low and much lower from the other two. From bibliography, we couldn't find any other bread which had such a low glycemic load, and that is because of both the medium glycemic index and the few available carbohydrates. We also measured the blood pressure of the volunteers from baseline and 2 hours after first consumption. And from the three breads, we saw that only the Greek Emma bread had the ability to reduce significantly diastolic blood pressure by approximately 8 units and systolic blood pressure marginally significantly. And with these results and with further studies, we could suppose that it could be an anti-hypertension food.
We should now provide you with some economic information about emmer wheat. The production cost of emmer wheat flour is increased because there is a need to use a combined rice hulling machine for the dehulling of the seeds. However, the cultivation cost is reduced because there's no need to use pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers. The seeds that are now available in the market have at least twice the price compared to the bred wheat. In the Greek market specifically, the retail cost of flour from emmer wheat costs about €4 per kilo, and for pasta from emmer wheat, €3.5 per half a kilo. The innovativeness of our project is based on the following facts. Greek emmer wheat can be introduced as a sustainable wheat crop and as a land race that contributes to biodiversity. It is also a very nutritious food with high protein, fiber, and micronutrient content, and it can be introduced as a healthier food choice compared to bred wheat. Greenland Team suggests the upgrade of existing products as a future work. In this way, traditional products such as trachanas and chilopites, as shown in the pictures below, could be of high quality while maintaining their distinct local identity. These innovative products could be closer to the original recipes created years ago before the beginning of intensive breeding. Of course, sensual evaluation of the products is needed because they have to be accepted by the consumers. Thank you for your attention. That was Team Greenland, and we can now answer your questions.
Great. Thank you very much to Eleni and the rest of the Greenland team. And we have time for one question, maybe two. So we open the floor. Please raise your hand and we will open your microphone.
Yes, we have a question from Alfred again.
Okay, this is Alfred Ma from University for Life Sciences in Vienna. Thank you very much for your presentation. In your clinical studies, could you see any interactions between the different dietary fiber content and the output of your results of the clinical studies, glycemic index and blood pressure? Is there any interaction with dietary fiber?
Well, so I'm going to give the answer. Yes, well, dietary fiber was a bit higher, but we can't say for sure why the glycemic index in Greek Emma bread is lower, probably due to that, maybe because of the higher protein, maybe due to the ash content, and that's maybe the answer for the reduction in blood pressure. We see that it has a higher ash content compared to the Italian Emma bread, as well as much more than the commercial one, and probably that's the reason why it reduces blood pressure, because in ash there is magnesium, and magnesium from various studies shows that it reduces blood pressure, as well as potassium probably. And from bibliography we saw that Emma wheat in general has much more magnesium and potassium than the commercial varieties, than bread wheat. So probably it's due to that. But of course, further studies need to be conducted. Probably some the analysis of ash content with various measures, so we can see its content. Yeah, further studies need to be conducted so we can be sure.
Okay, thank you very much, the Greenland team. Thank you.
Thank you.
We can take one more question. Yeah, Aline?
I'm just checking if we have a raised hand. I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. Well, great. Thank you very much then to Eleni and the Greenland team for an excellent presentation. And we will move to our next group of presenters, and that is the Quinoa Pack team. And Quinoa Pack will tell us about employing byproducts of the quinoa supply chain for packaging with potential antimicrobial activity. So I turn it over now to the Quinoa Pack team.
Hello, can you see our screen?
Yes, we can.
Can you turn on your camera, please? Do you have a webcam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure for us being here today and share the results of our research and ideas to improve the sustainability of the cereal supply chain. We are the Quinoa Pack group, and we will present an alternative active packaging that valorizes the byproducts of quinoa, a very important ancient grain. So the Quinoa Pack is composed of 4 Erasmus Mundus Master students from the Food Innovation and Product Design program, and also Sandra Dominic, packaging specialist from AgroParitech. So just starting in our background in here, in terms of the background and project strategy, from the topic of this competition, the group investigated that according to FAO, 1.3 billion tons of food are wasted per year, of which 40% belongs to fruits and vegetables and 30% belongs to cereal. In terms of the food supply chain, as you can see in here, 40% of the waste is observed during harvesting and processing in developing countries, and at retail and consumer levels in developed countries. Parallel to that, packaging waste is another issue, and data from 2016 show that 86.7 million tons of packaging were wasted, of which 41 are accounted for cardboard and equally 19% plastic and glass. Through an extensive analysis of the quinoa supply chain, there are 2 important byproducts currently considered as waste. One is from the harvesting, the plant waste, and the second one as a byproduct from the food industry, reaching a valuable compound that is called saponin. Therefore, by understanding the properties of the quinoa byproducts and facing the issue of food and packaging waste, the team developed a feasible and innovative idea that will be further on discussed in this presentation.
Looking into the supply chain of quinoa, the plant can be directly pulled out, cut manually using a sickle, or through of a mechanical mower. The seeds are then separated and given to the industries where their grains will be further processed and packaged. This will be transported either for storage or distribution. What we would like to highlight is that quinoa is mainly marketed for its grains, and that 55% to 79% of it is thrown away or goes back to the agriculture as livestock, feeds, and fertilizers. Also, during processing, the husks are removed from the quinoa seeds. These husks account for 8% to 12% of the grain and are removed due to their bitter taste coming from the high saponin content. These husks have no commercial value. Now, looking into the food supply, food spoilage of perishable goods, fruits and vegetables are known to be perishable and has short shelf life. Globally, 45% of these fruits and vegetables are lost or wasted. In 2011, according to FAO, in Latin America, about 55% of fruits and vegetables are lost or wasted at different stages of the food supply chain. Furthermore, it is estimated that 20% of this loss is due to the spoilage from bacteria and molds, molds being the main cause. Two good examples of mold-sensitive food in the Andean region are avocados and Cape gooseberries. In 2017, according to the Peruvian Chamber of Commerce, the volume of avocado produced was 466,000 tons. And for the Cape gooseberries, the volume projection for 2021 is 523,000 tons. Due to the high volume of these two fruits, this project aims to consider them as the potential initial users of the project. With this, the main objectives of the project were identified. First, to use the byproducts from farmers and industries to develop a sustainable packaging with antifungal properties such as the box. Second, is to give added value to plant waste, leading to additional revenue to quinoa farmers, increasing not only the economic value of the grains, but the plant waste as well. Last but not the least, is to provide a potential solution to spoilage-sensitive products, to molds through an active packaging to prolong and improve the product quality during storage.
So, how do we take this theoretical idea into reality? We have come up with a manufacturing process for this packaging, considering the references found in the literature for non-woody materials, for example, wheat straw, or even maize farming byproducts. This is also something that makes this project very unique and innovative. So our first step is the pulping, which consists of the digestion of stalks and leaves using an alkaline process. In this step, we're considering an alkaline treatment because, according to literature, this treatment can increase the antifungal activity of saponins. This is later taken to a blender in which we mix the pulp, the saponin-rich dust that comes from the industry, and water. This slurry is taken to a molding machine, which can give the shape of the final sheets that will be later assembled and given the shape that one desires. Our next step is the drying. We apply heat in order to evaporate the water that is inside this slurry so that we decrease it and we reach the level of good activity for saponins against molds. And our last step is the assembly, which is basically joining the sheets and building up a box of any desired dimension and any shape that one wants. So this is how our final prototype would look like. These are boxes that are used for food produce, and in this example you can see the avocados and Cape gooseberries as our applications in this first stage. So we have made this financial analysis considering a benchmark with one of the packaging leaders of the Peruvian industry. We've been having conversations with them, and we have also used some references for these costs. So using these references, we have reached unitary cost of $0.26 per box. This is aligned with the current cost of the market, which is around $0.20 to $0.30 per unit.
So, as it was stated before, one of our main objectives is giving value to the byproducts of the production of quinoa. And by this, adding economic value for the farmers. So in 2019, 95,000 tons of quinoa were produced in Peru. And considering that just 45% of this is used as food, more than 100,000 tons of plant waste were produced. This plant waste can be sold to the market for $350 per ton. And we established an 80% of this price for the farmer, which is translated in $280 per ton. We also established a market share of 10% of this plant waste, and this leaves us with more than $3 million of yearly profit for the Peruvian farmers just by selling the plant waste. So as a conclusion of this project, we identified a potential alternative to reduce food and packaging waste. And this also tackles the sustainability in the cereal supply chain, especially with the quinoa. And as recommendation, first, we have to elaborate a lab-scale packaging prototype and compare the physical properties of this to the cardboard boxes available in the market. Regarding this, we already received a proposal from our advisor to take this project into experimentation to the laboratories of AgroParisTech. Second, we consider that it's important to evaluate the efficiency of the packaging regarding the antimicrobial activity of the saponins applied to a packaging. We would like to finish our presentation restating that we think that this proposal is strong and is innovative, and it represents an important revenue for the farmers of quinoa. Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Obrigado.
Salamat.
If you have any questions, please feel free to do them.
Thank you very much to the Quinoa Pack team for an excellent presentation. We open the floor now for questions, and I see some new hands are up.
Yeah.
Line, can you open?
Yeah, Tushar Kulkarni, I'll open your microphone.
Yeah, hello. It was a really great presentation, I should say, and I really feel like it gets successful, and it would be really, I mean, we can say it as sustainable packaging. But the only question which I have is, like, after drying this pulp, as you said, it is going to be like, you know, like fragile, or it can, I mean, it can easily break. What I mean to say, like, the physical chances of physical damage would be high. So do you have any solution for this first? And the second question is, when it comes in contact with the other environmental factors, say humidity or moisture, so there is possibility that it might absorb the moisture, or it can also affect the transmission rate. So how do you see this challenge? Do you already have any possible solution in your mind? I know you haven't really tried it yet, but if you have any solution.
Yeah, sure. Actually, thanks for your question. And as I was telling in the presentation, we've been having conversations with one of the leaders of the packaging industry in Peru, whose name I cannot disclose. They are actually right now trying to perform. They are doing prototypes with other kind of plant waste, and they show interest in our proposition. And they say that one of the challenges is actually this molding part. But how they solve it is by establishing the thickness of the actual packaging. So when that is why also in the last part, when we made our recommendations, we are stating that this should be compared to the current cardboard boxes that are right now in the market, because of course it sounds like a very good idea, but it needs to perform very well. And in your second question regarding the environmental factors, this is also taken into account. And as you can see here in the financial analysis, these chemicals and reagents are not only for just the alkaline treatment, for example, but it's also regarding the strength of the material, and also some reagents that are used for anti-moisturing purposes. So these are actually like standard reagents that are used in the packaging industry. Our main goal here is to incorporate the quinoa by waste from the farming and also from the industry to an already existing process. I hope I answered your question.
Great. Hey, thank you very much.
We have a question from one of the other teams, from Buckwheat Synergy.
Yes, I also have a question. Thank you for your presentation. So actually, I've been, as you know from my presentation a few weeks ago, I've been in Peru and I've worked in the quinoa chain. And actually, I think one of the issues that you might encounter and that might be a bit challenging for the moment is that all the farmers are small producers, very small producers, and that the waste is going to be spread across all the regions. So I was in Ayacucho, so I don't know in other regions, but I think for the farmers, this might be a challenge. And then I have another small point. It's also that the cost of this machinery and the cost of developing all this kind of molds and all this kind of the different machines that are needed to develop this might be on the higher cost. So this is also something that you have to take into account, that it's also time requirements for the farmers. But otherwise, I think the quinoa chain is very interesting, and your project was very interesting to hear. I don't know if you have any comments on the spread and the logistics of transporting the waste.
Yeah, regarding this, as you can see here, the price that we consider for the plant waste is of $350 per ton. Yeah. And that's why we established that 80% is for the farmer, because the other 20% is going to be for this that you are mentioning. The cost of logistics with involves transportation and everything and all the collection of the plant waste. But yes, you made a good point.
Yeah, and regarding your point about the farmers being small, that is highly true. I am Peruvian myself, and this quinoa is collected this plant waste can be collected just like the quinoa grain is collected. So, for example, I don't know if you are familiar with how milk is collected in developing countries. They are very small as well. And there is this big truck that goes around as a defined route, taking all this milk. So this same idea is what we have in mind for the little farmers as well, because they are also willing to work for, like, you know, developing themselves and also for their own welfare. If you're familiar with it, the UN has worked a lot with quinoa farmers. And this project, we think as a team that it could have the potential also to increase their economic value.
Great, thank you. I think we can take one more question. Christoph?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Christoph.
Hello. Thank you very much for your presentation. I just would like to point out that it's important also for the packaging you will produce to test to see about the biodegradability of the packaging and also compostability, because it's important to consider, because, you know, sometimes you have very good packaging in terms of bioresourced composition, but in terms of biodegradability, it's not good. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, it's a very important point, and all of these experimental factors can be defined in further experimentation. As my colleague said, we have already received a proposal from our advisor to take this into experimentation. She actually requested some samples, which we don't have at the moment. But I will be going back to Peru in July, so I might take some so that we can take this further. She expressed a very nice interest in this project. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much to the Quinoa Pack team for an excellent presentation and interesting discussion after. And we move now to the Spell team. And the Spell team will tell us about spelt.
No,
yeah,
Catherine, wait.
Yeah.
We have a switch of presentations.
They did. Okay.
Because, yes, we will turn now to millet revivers, and
Millet
the Spell team
revivers.
agreed to
okay.
have their presentation
Super.
later. So thank you
Super.
very
So
much for your
Yeah.
flexibilities. I will make millet
Yeah.
revivers.
Millet revivers. They will tell us about millets, the forgotten food for the future. Excellent. Thank you very much to the Spell team.
So, hi, millet revivers. Do you have a web? Hi. Do you have a webcam to you can turn on maybe?
Yes, just a minute.
Great. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. We are the group, the Millet Revivers. Our team has 4 members, Kalyan, Shivani, me, Subhagya, and Vedant. So I would like to start the presentation by first introducing what millets are. Millets are a group of small seeded grass that serves as both food for human and animals. It has been an important crop in mostly developing countries, and they have been specifically grown in semi-arid regions of Asia and Africa. Millets have a very short growing session, and they can be cultivated in dry and hot temperature conditions as well. The major millet crops that are grown in these countries are sorghum and pearl millets. So let's have a look at the importance of millets. Millets have a very low carbon footprint as compared to other staple food crops that are grown. They are drought resistant and water resistance, water intensive crops. That means that they have a very less requirement of water for cultivation. They also have a very high nutritional value. They have high contents of proteins and dietary fiber, as well as some B vitamins. Along with that, they also contain some insoluble fibers that improve digestion and also protect against certain gastrointestinal diseases. They are gluten-free and non-allergenic. They can also be grown in adverse conditions like high temperature and the drought-prone regions. That is why they were grown initially in semi-arid regions of Asia and Africa because of the low requirement of water. So these crops were initially cultivated in various regions of India and certain parts of Africa as well. But there has been a fall in the cultivation of millets. And the main reason for that fall is the Green Revolution. During Green Revolution, since there was an increased production of rice and wheat, which increased the availability and consumptions of these crops, and these crops mainly became the staple crops of the major developing countries. That's why there was a decrease in the cultivation of millets. And also there was a shift by the farmers to cultivate the varieties of rice and wheat because there was introduction of a higher yielding variety. And that's why right now only a few farmers are cultivating these millets.
Okay, so the main objective why we took this project like millet revivers, and as the name suggests, reviving the millets, because it is a very sustainable food crop. The various aspects of sustainability that we took into consideration were the climatic changes, the supply chain, development of a steady and sustainable supply chain, having a steady source of markets, a steady market for millets. It can be a steady source of income for the farmers. And also, as millets can be grown using lesser water, it can be grown in arid and semi-arid regions of the country, and like India and Africa. And millet has a great nutritional benefits, so we can always go for millets rather than rice or wheat. So the various scopes of our project is to develop a sustainable supply chain for the millets. The next is to create a demand and supply scenario by creating a global awareness regarding the benefits of millets. and to invest more and more in the R&D for improving the processing of millets, because millets processing has not been up to its mark with, if we take into consideration the level of processing that rice and wheat has. So we need to invest in the R&D for the processing of millets. Okay, now why we went for millets? Because the data which we collected, we were able to find that the amount of carbon that was emitted while growing of rice and wheat was too high in comparison to that of millets. The data said that the amount of carbon dioxide that was emitted was somewhere around 1,000 kg per hectare, while it was quite less for that of millets. The second factor was the drought-resistant crops, drought-resistant properties of millet. Millet can be grown in very semi-arid regions, so it requires less amount of water, and it can also help farmers of these regions, these developing countries, to have a steady state of income for themselves. Millets have a very good nutritional values, and they are non-gluten, they're non-allergenic, and they're easily digestible. And gluten, they have a high shelf life when they are stored in proper conditions, so they can also be used as famine reserves. And all this can be, if we put all this together, then the government can be involved by helping NGOs to make more and more R&Ds of products related to millets. The various product development that are under construction includes the breakfast categories, the fermented products, baking and extruded products with millets, and also with upma mix. Nowadays, fermented products are more and more gaining familiarity among the millennials. So if we develop a good drink that is low in alcohol and act as a healthier option for non-alcoholic drinks, then it can be famous with the millennials. So more and more R&D is required for this category, but I think all these factors of sustainability can be implemented on millets, and the supply chain can be also be more and more sustainable. That's all we had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Thank you very much to the millet revivers, and we have time to take 1 or 2 questions. So we open the microphone of those who raise their hands now, please.
Or if any of your other team members have questions, you can open your microphone. Yes, Alfred, you can go ahead. Please.
Jenna, you pointed out the higher hectare yields, very good for the farmers, benefit for the farmers with wheat and rice cultivation, excuse me. What about the hectare yield and the price of millets with your experience with, let's say, Indian farmers?
Oh, okay. The hectare pile is less as compared to rice and wheat, because the rice and wheat are considered to be hybrid products. But and also if you compare the price of millet is naturally higher than that of rice and wheat. But we are currently looking into the carbon that has been emitted, carbon dioxide that is emitted, and we haven't considered the price thing as of now, because naturally millets will be costing more in India. They cost more than rice and wheat. So we haven't considered the fact that the cost is going to be a matter. It can be reduced using we can do more research and development on that in order to reduce the cost and develop high yield millets, but that hasn't been done much yet.
Okay, so at least the consumer has to bear higher costs for products made from millet, but the advantage for the society is a lower carbon footprint. Could we resume this in this way?
Yes, the carbon footprint and the nutrition, because rice and wheat, they're not so much nutritious, like they're a source of carbohydrates. But if you see that the world is shifting towards more and more healthy options for food, so millet would be a better option for them, for this market, for the people who are trying to shift from a rich carbohydrate diet to a healthier diet. So millet can be an option for them also.
Thank you very much to the millet revivers.
No problem.
Great. Thank you. Thanks very much. And we will go now to the next team. And our next presentation comes from the Invincibles. And the Invincibles will tell us about reducing global warming contribution of rice through energy innovation and the utilization of Fonio. So I turn now over to the Invincibles.
I cannot add my team members.
You can go ahead.
Okay.
Are you alone, or is someone from your team also?
Yeah, I cannot see my team members in the list.
Maybe you can raise your hand, because I guess you're in the attendee list then. Those of you from the team Invincibles.
Yeah.
Can you raise your hand and I can open your microphone?
Yeah, it is Yadav.
Saga, okay, yes.
Saga Yadav, yeah.
Okay, I'll make you panelist. Like, okay.
Okay.
And Sanjana also? You also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, so now you're panelists and you can open your microphones and share your cameras.
Yeah. There are two more members.
Okay.
Yeah, Sagar. Yeah, and William.
William, okay, yes.
Yeah.
With William, okay.
Okay, just a second. William and Saka, I made you already.
Okay, good. Everyone is there now.
Okay.
Okay.
And can you see my screen as well?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Yes, and you can put it in presentation mode.
Yes.
It's better
yes.
if you have it in. Yeah, exactly. Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. So sorry for the inconvenience, and hello and welcome to the presentation by the team Invincible on improving sustainability of cereal chains, a utilization plan for Asian grain Fonio. Our mentor is Gwenona Yeno-Lebri from AgroPeritech, and our team members are Gautam Kohli, me, Sagar Yadav, Sanjana Lebongdisa, and William Bedu. Whenever somebody talks about sustainability, a quote that comes to our mind is that we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. And keeping the same thought in our mind, we proceeded with our literature review. And we found out that the problem that we had was not just a mere problem, it was a crisis. A crisis due to the ever-increasing world population, which will have to be fed through agriculture. But agriculture in the current state, it is responsible for 24% of the greenhouse gas emissions and consumes 70% of the fresh water. And in addition to this, the world is dependent on 1% of 250,000 edible species that are known to mankind. And those 1%, they include wheat, rice, maize, and other cereal grains. And these grains, their production is supposed to decrease by 14% by the year 2030. And which means that we are taking a look at a future where our food security is in danger. And if we consider the greenhouse gas emission, the eutrophication, the picture becomes further worse. And if we just talk about rice, most of the studies don't even consider the nitrous oxide that is released during the agriculture of rice, which is most potent in terms of the heat entrapment over time. So we do not say there's a one best fit for all, we realize the fact that we need to adopt the biodiversity, say no to the pesticides, adopt practices that help conserve water, and the part on which our presentation will be focused is finding alternatives and adapting alternatives to rice.
So with regards to that, our project was focused on reducing the global warming contribution of rice through energy innovation and utilization of Fonio. As we may all know, rice, milk, and its fermented products are popular in Europe. However, growing rice requires high energy inputs and high inputs of natural resources. And looking at how the global population is increased and the issues of sustainability, there is a need to adapt the use of ancient grains such as Fonio to produce a milk and kefir as an alternative product for rice, milk, and its fermented product. Now, looking at rice contributes 19% of the world's total calorie intake, showing how dependent the world is on rice. However, rice produces a lot of greenhouse gases. For example, cultivation of rice produces 60 tons of methane per year, and its cultivation also emits carbon dioxide even more than activities such as coal mining and gas production. Compared to other staples, rice emits carbon dioxide twice as much as its counterpart mainstream cereals such as wheat, and emits more carbon dioxide more than other staples also like oatmeal, potatoes, and maize, meaning that rice has a high carbon footprint. Compared to Fonio on the other side, Fonio is a fast-growing cereal with a maturation period of just 60 to 70 days compared to rice that has a maturation period of over 130 days. In addition, Fonio is able to withstand drought, and interestingly, is able to withstand also excessive rainfall. That's in terms of agriculture, Fonio requires little irrigation and low agricultural input. Major production countries are Guinea, Nigeria, and Mali. However, in the supply chain, European countries like Netherlands and Spain play important role in the supply chain. Nutritionally, Fonio offers a better nutrition than rice. The energy value of Fonio is very high compared to rice. And the nice thing about this is that this energy is not coming from the carbohydrate, is coming from the proteins and the fats in the rice. And Fonio contains high fiber contents, which is 6 times higher than that of rice. And the protein content of Fonio is such that it has a similar amino acid profile compared to rice. Specifically, it is rich in methionine and cysteine, which is absolutely absent in rice. The mineral content and the vitamin content of Fonio is also higher in significant amount than that of rice.
Yep. Due to digitalization and consumer awareness, people are getting more and more aware about the product that they're consuming, and they are more interested towards determining its environmental impact. A really good example can be shift to dairy-free alternatives. As you can see in this graph, Latin America, Africa, and Asia contribute to the highest amount of greenhouse gas emissions in the production of dairy milk. Now, these 3 continents combined have the highest number of population globally, and also these economies are primarily based on agriculture. Now, the consumers have realized this thing, and they are looking for more options to reduce the environment footprint. So cow milk still requires a lot of resources in terms of land and water, and it emits a lot of carbon emissions. Rice milk comes second in that list, but it's still by far the worst dairy alternative that is available in the market. But still, next Gautam. But still, rice has a huge potential in the market, and it occupies a very big share. Next. Next presentation, next slide.
Already did.
Okay, I can see it. Okay. Yeah, can you go back, please? Yep. As you can see in this graph, the global rice milk market is increasing at a steady rate, and it is supposed to be estimated at $2,600 million US in 2024. So this is a big potential, and we want to tap in this potential by introducing our alternative, Fonio milk. Now, Fonio milk can be consumed in itself as a whole, or it can undergo further value-added processing to give you more niche products. For example, Fonio Kefir. Now, products like this cater to a wide variety of consumers, and during the whole processing of this product, we have kept in mind that we will utilize each residue and side streams of the process to reduce our environmental impact as much as possible. Fonio milk processing is really easy and it can be adapted to the existing cereal processing lines without any major changes. It starts by soaking the dehulled grains for 8 hours, followed by mixing and making a mash and sieving it. Now, to mix the grains, usually the ratio of 1 to 10 is taken for grain and water, but it can be changed according to the preferences. Then this mash undergoes sterilization process to reduce the microbial load and it goes packaging. The Fonio milk caters to really a wide section of society as it offers lactose-free, gluten-free, and vegan-free qualities, which is a growing trend in today's world. It also is rich in iron, high in protein, and low in sugars, which makes it more important and healthy for the people who are going towards keto diet. And then it also offers a clean label, which is good for the consumer awareness.
The increasing shift of consumers towards non-dairy milk has also triggered non-dairy fermented beverage sector. One such product is Kefir, which is high in nutrients and rich in probiotics. The Kefir market is gaining immense popularity in Europe as well as in the Americas, and it is expected to grow at the rate of 6.4% annually. Next, please. As you can see in the plot, over the years, non-dairy Kefir market has grown considerably, and it is expected to grow further alongside other fermented products. Moving on. The processing of Fonio Kefir, it is also relatively simple and needs no change in terms of infrastructure. The pre-processed Fonio milk is inoculated with Kefir grains and it is fermented for up to 72 hours at 28 degrees Celsius, after which it is filtered out and then packaged. The interesting aspect of this production is we can use the grains in successive production cycles. Any product is only a good alternative if it is on par with the economical aspects. While developing our product, we took into account the same economical aspect and found out that not only is our product cheap to produce, but also cheaper in comparison to the market price of rice milk, which sells at an average of 2.2 euros per liter, while Fonio milk can be marketed at 2 euros per liter. This cost includes raw material costs, processing costs, and even marginal profits. Now, for a product to be truly circular and sustainable, it is important to use the byproducts. Our major focus was on energy innovation and product development. Fonio has a higher percentage of husk than rice. This husk can be used to form solid hull pellets, which can be used as fuel, and the ash generated can be used as absorbents and filtration medium. The residues from Fonio milk processing is rich in nutrients like protein, fiber, etc. The residues can be dehydrated and develop into fiber-rich flour and also used in health bars for meal replacement. These are our references, and thank you, and we are open to questions.
Great. Thank you very much to Gautam and the rest of the team. And we have time now to take at least one question. So please go ahead and raise your hand.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Gerhard, ISEKI-Food Association. Yeah, you have very interesting ideas, and I would like to know if you have any information about the acceptance by the consumers. Did you do any sensory tests for these products?
Thank you for your question. We do not have any kind of a sensory test that we did, so we don't have that result. But what we can tell you is that Fonio doesn't have its own kind of a taste, so you won't feel like you're having something weird or something which is non-acceptable. So coupling that with natural ingredients like natural flavorings, maybe of chocolate or all those things, it can be given that flavor which will be accepted by the consumer. So if a company is trying to think about adopting Fonio, they won't be worried about a taste that usually you get from any kind of millets that we use.
Okay, thank you.
Also adding to the question, it is also available in the US in restaurants, and even in Africa it is consumed as milk, among other things.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay. Alfred, do you have a question?
Alfred from University Life Sciences, Vienna. Thank you for your presentation. You pointed out the bioavailability of Fonio, a very high one. Do you refer your saying to minerals or rather to proteins and essential amino acids? What is the meaning of bioavailability in your presentation?
Yeah. So yes, we are talking about the fact that it has a higher protein as we showed in our presentation. But this bioavailability is also improved when we are going towards the fermentation part. When we prepare kefir, we have literature showing that when we are producing a fermented product, the bioavailability of the minerals, like if you talk about comparing normal milk with yogurt, we know that the calcium in yogurt is more bioavailable and it can be absorbed, it is increased as compared to milk. So similar effect literature shows we can achieve in terms of non-dairy kefir and yogurts as well.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Invincibles.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks very much to the Invincibles. And we will move now, staying very close to our time schedule. We go to the Angreeders. And the Angreeders are the ancient grain bread makers. And they will tell us about Kinoama, which is a revolutionary ancient grain novel bread. And so we turn over now to the Angreeders.
Yes.
We see your screen, we see your cameras. You're welcome to start.
We see where's the screen?
You have to put in presentation mode, yes. Now it's perfect. Mm-hmm.
Hi, are you able to hear me? Yes. Okay, so I'm audible.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, okay. Now I want to have the PPT. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. We are the Angreeders from the Wageningen University in the Netherlands. My name is Winky, and next to me are Stefano and Deepjot. So today we are going to introduce Kinoama, a revolutionary ancient grain novel bread. Okay. According to the FAO, the global population in 2050 will hit around 10 billion, which will grow over a third. Therefore, we have to increase our food production by 70%. And we identify like the two main challenges in the world, and one of them is like exploring the potential cereal grains and reducing the food waste. So currently, the problem in cereal grain is the high growth cost of wheat, and which is commonly consumed. And also, we have a demand for gluten-free bread as more people are diagnosed with celiac disease. So what's more, the bread packaging waste and we can go nowhere to dispose of our stale bread is also a problem. Okay, so for our project, we see great potential for the amaranth and quinoa as the growing days are shorter when compared to wheat. And also the amaranth and the quinoa, they are quite resistant to moisture stress. The protein content in amaranth is quite high and is very high in lysine, which is one of the essential amino acids. And quinoa has a similar protein content as wheat. What's also very attractive is the gluten absence in both amaranth and quinoa, which is already a shortcut for gluten-free bread. We have also seen the possibilities to use the grain hull from amaranth for instance, to make new biodegradable packaging material. And also the possible use of steel bread in vodka production is also very promising. So for our project, we are going to use amaranth and quinoa to make the gluten-free bread, and we are going to use the whole of amaranth and the stem of the quinoa to make the biodegradable packaging. As there's a lot of waste produced in the cereal industry, and which is not being valorized that much, we want to bring the steel bread to the community center where they can be collected for the vodka production. And therefore, our aim is to improve the overall sustainability of the cereal chain. To guide you through our project, we will first start with the ingredients and the bread production, following by biodegradable packaging. Furthermore, we'll explain the valorization of the steel bread and the community center, and last but not least, also the economic and consumer aspect will be discussed in the whole picture. I'll give the word to my colleague Stefan.
Thank you, Winky. We will now speak about the ingredients and the bread production. As you can see, if we exclude the water, the main ingredients of our product would be quinoa flour and amaranth flour. We decided to use this pseudo-cereal because of their intrinsic characteristic. They have the typical amylopectin structure will decrease the starch rate of degradation and will improve the shelf life of the product. In addition, they have a high content of protein, especially in lysine. We also decided to use thermofiltered rice flour for two main reasons. First of all, we want to keep the price of the product competitive in the market, as quinoa flour and amaranth flour are quite expensive. And by including thermofiltered rice flour that has a pre-gelatinized starch, will increase the viscosity of the dough and will give a smoother texture to the bread. Guar seed flour is also added to improve the retention of water. In addition, as this bread is gluten-free, the gluten network will not be formed. So we decided to use transglutaminase. This is an enzyme that makes isopeptide bonds between lysine and glutamine. By making these, we create a space-spanning protein network in the dough that will improve the retention of the air and will help give a better structure to the bread. This is also confirmed by literature study on wheat flour. We decided to use the home heating as a cooking technique of our bread. As we already saw, this technique that allows the cooking of a product by creating an electric field that passes through the food product and heat it homogeneously. This will reduce the energy cost and the cooking time. It will also increase the air bubble retention and improve the dough quality and give a smoother texture to the product. Second part of our product is the use of biodegradable packaging material. This will be done by using the stem of quinoa and the hull of amaranth that are a by-side product of the food industry. It was shown that the quinoa fiber from the stem of the quinoa has a structure very similar to some textile fiber, such as hemp. We decided to use the delignification technology in alkaline process with sodium hydroxide as an alkaline medium at 100 degrees. Due to the high cost of the machinery need to create paper from this quinoa fiber, we thought about a collaboration with a paper manufacturing product company to decrease the cost. We also at the beginning thought about the use of hull, but we couldn't find literature on that. So we at the moment discard this hypothesis and we thought about proceeding with the quinoa fiber. I now give the words to my colleague Divjot.
Hello everyone. Now I would like to explain in a bit more detail that how are we going to valorize the stale bread. 30%, as we know nowadays, 30% of bread goes to waste, and we would like to valorize to produce vodka. So as we know that during the staling of bread, starch retrogradation happens, and that starch can be used as a fermentation feed to produce alcohol to make vodka. So during mashing, Around 2% of malt is added to add to the enzymatic power during the liquefaction process. And once we get the fermentable sugars, then yeast is added, and the wort is kept at a particular temperature for appropriate amount of time. And once the young beer is produced, it is separated from the yeast cells and it is cooled to separate the haze producing proteins. In the distillation, as common distillation, in the distillation columns, we reduce we remove the volatile compounds. And finally, to make a good quality vodka, we equilibrate the vodka to dilute it to 40% of concentration. The foam is being removed, and finally some more volatile compounds such as methanol or diacetyl are also being removed. So this is the vodka we are going to produce finally. In the strategy, Winky gave an overview what will be the logistics of collecting the stale bread. So the stale bread will be brought by consumers in the community center, and they will gain something out of it as a discount coupons for using in the supermarket. And twice a week, vodka company will collect the bread from the community center. As a pilot scale, we have kept the price of about 0.5 cents for 1 kg, but it can reduce once once it becomes on a large scale. And also the community center will be used for raising awareness on food waste and to provide education to the community on ancient grains. So finally, coming to the economic and consumer aspect. As we know, quinoa and amaranth are not extensively used in the cereal industry. That's why they are a bit more expensive than the conventional wheat, commercial wheat. So quinoa is around 6 times more expensive, and amaranth is around 3 times more expensive. And gluten-free products don't have that much demand in the market right now, so that's why they are quite expensive than the conventional wheat bread of about 240%. And as we know, the sensorial characteristics are also really important. So that's why we add the transglutaminase to make it really close to the conventional bread. And according to the ingredients that we have used, and as Stefano mentioned about the novel technique of ohmic heating, as well as the biodegradable packaging, that makes the quinoa bread a bit expensive than the normal bread, which will be around 2.5 to 4 euros per 500 grams. Finally, taking through you the take-home message, Winky will take you through that.
Hi, thank you, Dijot and Stefano, for explaining. So as we discussed the 5 parts before, we highlighted the main conclusions for you. So we saw that amaranth and quinoa show great potential in improving the sustainable cereal chain, and transglutaminase improves the dough quality of gluten-free bread, which is very essential for the consumers' taste buds. And we also see that using the stem for quinoa as the packaging material for the bread can reduce the use of the paper produced by wood. And also, stale bread can be transformed into ethanol for vodka, and community centers make the society have like a more sustainable and a more social lifestyle. And last but not least, quinoa and amaranth gluten-free bread has potential to be liked by consumers. We thank you for this amazing opportunity to be part of this project, and now it's time for questions.
Great, thanks very much to the Ann Greeters team. And we do have the moment now to take a question from the audience. So please go ahead and raise your hand. Christoph, I see you have a question.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. I just wanted to highlight that, of course, you are producing a gluten-free bread. But the problem is that amaranth is also some consumers have develop allergy towards amaranth. So I think it's important also to consider. I don't know exactly proportion of this allergenicity, but it's important to take into account.
Would you? Yeah, as we know that we considered about the celiac disease, and like it was amaranth doesn't contain gluten, so right now we considered about that. But yeah, surely if we will find about if there are some more allergies that consumers have, then we will try and more. We will try to like modify the bread that we could make.
Yes, thank you.
Is there
We have a question from
question?
the team at Lai. From
Great.
Team at Lai, you can open your microphone and ask the question. I don't know who it is from the. Are you in the same room? Maybe you have two microphones open. Maybe just one of you speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, we are okay here, I think.
Yeah, we are okay.
You don't have a question.
Hello, could I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Hello. I saw that you're planning to use stale bread for production of vodka. So considering that like most of the time stale bread could have molds, how can you incorporate this consideration into the processing? Thank you.
Basically, the stale bread contains very less moisture, and we also thought about that that the stale bread will be more towards the starch retrogradation style, but your starch retrogradation will happen. But yeah, you are also right that mold can also be there, but we will have with a vodka company that it will be it can be a bit separated on the company level, or we can apply some manpower in the community center which can separate out the bread at the community center as well. So we will apply both the concepts at the company level as well and at the community center. So it is possible.
Okay, super. Thank you very much to the Angridas team. And we are now through the first six of our presentations, and we move to the second half of today's program. And up next is the MyQui team, and MyQui is My Quick Meal, and they will tell us about amaranth as a phytoremediator and as a nutrient source. So we turn over now to the MyQui team.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have to mute ourselves.
Hello, can you listen to us?
Yes, we hear you.
Do you see the presentation?
Yes,
and we
can.
see the
Please go ahead.
presentation. Yes, please go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. And I already want to congratulate all other teams, as there have been some amazing presentations yet. And so we want to introduce to you our project, MyQui, My Quick Meal. And first of all, I would like to apologize, but we will have to start with a very inconvenient and sad truth, is that we are losing our soil. Every minute that is passing, we're losing the area equivalent to 30 soccer fields of arable soil land.
Yes, that is true. In the Mediterranean area of Italy, in the Campanian region, we saw this by our own selves. In this area, farmers are losing their soil, which is triggered by the lack of fresh water, and also for the inappropriate water management. This leads that farmers use high salinity water to irrigate the crops, which aggravates more the salinity problem of the soil. And if this continues, if drought and salinization of soil continues, by 2050, we may lose 50% of our arable soil.
Well, that's right, but there's still hope. We cannot lose this battle so easy. So of course, if we would be politicians in a campaign, we will just usually say like, yeah, let's improve our water and soil management systems. That's necessary. That's pretty obvious. But then we further research and we finally found a strategy that could really find a solution to this problem. And it's the introduction of resistant crops to drought and salinity conditions.
Indeed, from our home countries in Latin America, we were able to identify a crop which aligns to this strategy. This is amaranth. Amaranth is able to tolerate severe temperature conditions of drought and high salinity. Now, we may all agree that amaranth has come to save the soil as our superfood. In fact, amaranth has been recognized as one of the top 50 foods of the future for a healthier planet. Moreover, it has a nutritional value which is really special, mainly for its source of fiber and protein profile. But wait, there is more. Amaranth is also a phytoremediator. So amaranth is also a phytoremediator. In other words, amaranth absorbs pollutants from the soil and stores them in stems and leaves, being seeds safe for human consumption.
But then, so now we proudly introduce to you MIQUI, my quick meal, which is going to be a powder. It is going to be source of protein, fiber, and vitamins and minerals. And we will be able to work with a soy-free and a vegan-friendly products. And MIQUI will serve as our umbrella to bring to the market a lot of different premixes and easy to prepare quick meals such as pancakes, shakes, porridge, dairy, and also meat alternatives. But there is still more to add. This is our B2C channel, and we will also add to this channel a B2B, so that we have acknowledged that sharing this idea to other companies will spread and improve the system. So we want to give them a new raw material. We will enhance their technological and nutritional value to their products. And how is the deal? First, we will work with the local farmers in Italy, and we'll start a contract farming where we'll assure them a certain price for their amaranth, and we will start together the managing system and we'll put a lot of attention on the water system. And later on, we will liquefy this amaranth and deliver it to healthy and happy and healthy consumers.
Yeah, so how do we liquefy amaranth? So our MVP amaranth will be extruded to improve technological and nutritional properties. Furthermore, it will be grinded to obtain a fine powder. Afterwards, it will be separated to our different destinations, being B2B or B2C.
But we still have to focus on something really important. Amaranth is taking out all the pollutants from the soil, and we have to close that vicious cycle. Otherwise, all the stems and leaves will return to another reservoir, and we'll just be moving the pollutants from one place to another. Therefore, we will grind these the stems and leaves, and we will chelate the heavy metals and pollutants, and we will then take them and dispose them in a proper way. And afterwards, the biomass that is left, we will use it to produce biogas, which will be another source of income for the farmers. And let's put it a little bit more with numbers. So for a square meter of arable land, we need 0.02 kilograms of seed, which for a soccer field is approximately 170 euros investment. And the yield of the amaranth is also approximately 3 kilograms per square meter, which gives us 21,000 tons of amaranth for a whole soccer field. And currently, the price in the market of amaranth is around 0.64 kilograms, and that would represent a sale of more than 13,000 euros for a soccer field harvested by the farmers. And in addition, it's something really interesting or good for us that we don't have to design any new equipment. We can use what is already on the market. So our time to market is really short. We just need to have the money for the initial investment. So for instance, for the main liquefaction process, we will need a grain extruder, a grinder, a volumetric filler for the B2B channel, and a powder mixer for the premixes for our B2C. And that will be in total around 11,000 euros investment.
So this is how MIQI is an holistic approach for innovation from farm to fork, with social, economic, and environmental impact, with the potential to be applied not only in the Mediterranean area of Italy, but in many other areas where amaranth can grow and could be a nudge to recover soil, improve people's welfare, and potentiate economy in a sustainable way. So who are we? We are Jorge Rivera, Maria Belén Gavilanes, and Tushar Kulkarni, three passionate food innovators with 7 years of combined experience in R&D and product and research in the food domain.
So if you're hungry as we are, let's make it together and recover our soil. Thank you very much. These are our references.
Great, thanks very much, Jorge, Maria, and the MIQI team. So let's open the floor for questions for this group. Alfred, go ahead.
Yes, this is Alfred from University of Life Sciences in Vienna. Thank you for your presentation. Let me ask you one question. The costs for the total device or plant you presented with 11,000 euros doesn't seem very expensive on the first sight. Can you give me an information about the output of this plant amaranth product per hour or per day, whatever?
Well, this is a small equipment. That's the reason the costs were low. And we expect just to have for the first a small pilot plant and well, for the amount, we expect to deliver not high as 30 kgs per day. And yeah, the idea is to start developing and checking which products, which premixes will set up better in the market, and also what the industry is more interested, so that we can refine our process in terms of the extrusion conditions and grinding, and then we will extrapolate and then do a higher investment on equipment that we really need.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other questions, so I would like to move on to keep our timing. So we go to our next group, and our next presenters have the name of the serial killers, and they will tell us about Bee Freak. So we turn it over now to the serial killers.
Oh, sorry. No, yeah, but I can wait. Where is it going? Here. Okay. Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Can you see us?
Yes, we see you, and we see your screen, and we can hear you. If you put your slides in presentation mode, then it is all yours now. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone.
So we are the serial killers. My name is Paula, this is Clelia and Alejandra. We are three passionate scientists, and I have a background in food marketing consultancy. Clelia has worked with children and in nutrition and sensory analysis. And Ale, she's a chemical engineer, and she worked in the paint industry and the food industry. So starting off with our objectives. So with the growing population, the lack of arable land, and the lack of resources, and food waste and malnutrition, all of those the global challenges, which the food industry is partly responsible for, we have thought of a product to defy all of these global challenges and to try to resolve them. And basically, the unfamiliarity with ancient grains might be hindering the utilization of them in the new product formulations. So this project aims at tackling the global challenges from a food product development point of view. Okay, so yeah, moving on to our strategy. So naturally, we needed to incorporate all of our backgrounds in the project. So and more food companies are joining the pursuit to global environmental sustainability. So we are offering a new product that is made almost entirely from byproducts stemming from both the cereal industry as well as the dairy industries, and combining an ancient grain coming from the Middle East, which is called frike, specifically targeted towards malnourished children all around the world who are transitioning from exclusive breastfeeding to the first stage of weaning at 6 months old.
Well, besides the malnutritional problem, we are also facing an environmental problem. And let's have a quick view of the background. According to statistics, global statistics, by 2050, we're going to be reaching to 2.6 billion people. And because of we're incrementing our population, of course, natural resources are going to increase for satisfying our essential needs. Oh, sorry. And totally more specifically about water. Only 3% is drinkable of the whole amount in the planet, and 0.5 is accessible to us because the rest is frozen in the glaciers or in the poles. And what is going on with the water? 92% of the global consumption goes into the agricultural practices. So therefore, the agricultural sector is facing this challenge to supply our demands by reducing the cost and the utilization of natural resources. This is one main objective for them. And a quick thing is that the most widely cultivated crop in the world is wheat. And it also has the highest water footprint. Normally, the crops have an average of there is the number, I'm not gonna say it. And the wheat is over this average, which is 1,800 meter cubics per ton. And not only the consumption of water is high, but also the green gases that these crops emit during the whole process of harvesting is high by 200 kilograms per ton. Therefore, stating this, like worldwide, the wheat is ancient grain consumed in a high amount, but it also consumes a lot of our natural resources, and it is affecting our climate.
So if we move now on the nutritional point of view, so malnutrition is a global challenge that we all know. It's also the second challenge of the Sustainable Goals for 2020. It's important to know that malnutrition is not one thing. We call it triple burden because it combines undernutrition, which is when a child is not able to absorb nutrients or receive the nutrients. It's hidden hunger, which you can receive nutrients, but not essential minerals and vitamins in order to grow. and this can also coexist with overweight. So we have a huge problem globally with malnutrition, and a lot of children, actually half of the children in the world globally have hidden hunger, even if this coexists with overweight. So we wanted to tackle this, also taking into consideration that the first 1,000 days of life are extremely crucial for child development and growth. It seems that the children that receive a good nutrition in the first 1,000 days of life, they grow more, they have a good immune system, they can wait, their weight is more healthy, and also they can be in a healthier family. They have a better profile in general. It's very important to know that for the children that are from 6 to 23 months old, this is the greater nutrition needs. So per weight of per kilogram of body weight, we need the most amount of nutrients. And vitamins A, D, calcium, and iron are only some of the elements that are mostly needed. It's very important that only 2 in 3 children aged 6 from 23 months are not eating foods from the minimum number of food groups. They don't have a complete nutrition. And also fewer than 1 in 3 children between this age is provided with a diet with appropriate diversity. So the problem is that in the poorer regions, the moms are continuing the excluding breastfeeding. We know that milk, mom's milk, it's the most nutritious source for a child that it's being born, and it's a very good practice. But from 6 months old, the World Health Organization promotes that we have to complement with food. This is not possible for the poorest regions. This is why we wanted to create a product that can complement the nutrition. So we continue with the breastfeeding, but we give a product that provides the other nutrition elements that they are not provided by breast milk. And this is very important because the 1,000 first days, it's not the 1,000 first days of life, it's from the day of conception, so it's also the mom's nutrition until the second birthday of the child. So we want to tackle this because we know that prevention is the key. So we don't want to cure malnutrition. We want to have less children that are malnourished from a very good basis. This is why we want to target the infant. This is then our approach. So we want to combine ancient grains with cereal byproducts and whey, which is a byproduct of the dairy industry. So the ancient grain that we want is frike. It's an ancient grain from Middle East, and it's very nutritious. And the cereal byproduct that we chose is the oat hulls and biscuit byproducts. So what do we have from them? Frike provides with proteins and with fiber. It's very rich. Oat hulls are the brands that are remained from the process of oats, and these give us also fiber. And the biscuit byproducts are biscuits that are broken or not nice to sell, so they're also going to waste. And this is a very important product for us because it provides the density. We need energy, we need calories. It provides with taste. Children do not eat tasteless things. And also it gives we were very careful in the formulation because it can have a high glycemic index. So we will add the biscuit byproducts. We will show later the formulation in a percentage that the glycemic index is good for the infant, but it still has taste and energy. So whey, from this manufacturing, we know the dairy industry is huge all over the world, and we know that whey is not always valorized. So whey provides with the humidity to the product, and this is very important because we don't use clean water, because water is a resource that we don't have in abundance. So the water that whey contains already helps us to cut down on the water resource and give also a humid product that has proteins, and these proteins are very important for the children.
So our product the formulation of our product is basically, these are the numbers, you can see them on the screen. So the reason why we chose frike, which is a Middle Eastern grain, is that it is cultivated halfway through the normal process of wheat. So for example, if wheat takes, let's say, 3 months to be like a full cycle to be cultivated. Frike would take half that time, so 1.5 months, and it would hence use less, half of the resources used for wheat production. So less water, less fertilizers, etc., etc. So this is our just a little sketch of our product. It's called Beef Freak, the infant paste.
And what is innovative about this project is that we chose to have a reverse innovation concept, because we tackled a necessity that it's in the market, which is fight malnutrition and also try to keep our resources the best as we can. And we came up with this idea, and therefore we went back. And it is a direct social, environmental, and economic project, which is going to benefit not also the infants, but also the industries that are looking what to do with their wastes. And it will benefit the entire planet at the same time, because the water is going to be used less the amount. The contamination will reduce also half of the amount, and it's a win-win for everybody. Then what about the process? Because we have talked about the ingredients, but how can we actually achieve this taste? Well, it's gonna start with we have a little sketch here. So it's gonna start with the ingredient reception, which will be then blend again with the grain cereal byproduct and whey. And in this part, we were thinking that because currently in the market, they sell the frike already dried. And then we said, okay, but we needed water to actually make it moist and then able to be blended. But if we actually talk to the farmers and get the frike just in time before they go through the process of making them drier, we are not going to be needed to be adding water, because the frike is at the peak time of maturation. Therefore, it's still tender. We are not going to need to be more soft than it is. After we're going to make the mix phase, which is going to be the fortification process, adding the vitamins. Then we're going to have a pasteurization process to make it sterilized and safe for the consumption. And finally, the packaging and distribution. Thank you very much. And don't be afraid to be a freak and think out of the box. Any questions?
Thank you very much to the Serial Killers team. We can take one question. So the floor is open to the audience, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Nala, and I have one question. So if I get it right, you want to develop this product for infant, and my question would be, do you think the mothers would actually be open for such a new ingredient? Because as you know that infant is a vulnerable category of consumer, and it's not easy to introduce a specific new ingredients and to make sure that the mothers especially can, you know, be guaranteed that it's going to be safe for their babies and will not cause any any problem.
I think that as frike, we don't know it, but the Middle East is very well known. So we thought that we could start our market targeting in the Middle East moms. So this could be the first test for us, because it's like introducing a grain that people were thinking that it was valuable some years ago, like the food of the war, and now everything like that becomes, and everybody realizes the value of it. So we think, yeah, this might be a challenge, but it's also part of education. And that's why we were trying, because we use byproducts, and we are going to make a very friendly to moms and friendly to the children product in order to also in a very good price, because we're using byproducts, and this is also helped. So we will have a good price, we'll have a friendly marketing. We will start from the Middle East, where this frike is well known, and this will show us the way. So we think that, I think it's possible.
Yeah, and also, for example, we can expand a lot in the countries such as Africa, where they have like a lot of water scarcity. And it's gonna take a lot of marketing as well, because wheat, it's already used for baby food, and moms take it, like they take it very well. And if we actually tell them and educate them that telling them that free K provides twice the nutrition value of something that you already are giving to your baby, but it's not harvested on the peakest of nutrition and point, then they're gonna have like to start learning about it and change. And I think it's very viable for them.
Okay, great. Thanks very much to the serial killers. We go now to our next team, and this is the team Adley. And Team Adley will tell us about the utilization of jobs tier as an alternative to rice or wheat flour in Southeast Asian countries. So Team Adley, I see you already. We see your screen and
just for a moment, two people are still missing. Roxy, Marpran, can we see you?
Here. You see us?
No, not yet.
No, but
you have to turn on your camera.
The screen
your
we can
presentation,
see,
but not your. Yeah.
not you yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect. You may begin.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you very much from the team Adley. But let me first introduce our team. We are actually Nala from Indonesia, Roxanne from the Philippines, Navapan from Thailand, and myself from Lucas from Italy, with our supervisor Carla from the Philippines. We actually have all background in grains, but like today we are talking to you about job tiers. Like job tiers, with the help of job tiers, we would like to challenge the current state of wheat and also of rice. And let's now jump into the topic. We found a lot of challenges going around. We have a increasing population. By 2050, we will be more than 10 people living on Earth. At the same time, we have like people undernourished all over the world. If you take, for example, the southern area of Africa, there you have 1 in 5 is actually undernourished. At the same time, we have a lot of food loss, which causes a lot of environmental impacts. And actually, to overcome this all these lack in grains, we have to produce to increase our production in cereals for the next years about 0.9 billion tons, which is actually like swimming in a small lake of cereals. Also, the food insecurity is rising and rising. This is due to the fact of climate change, and also this leads to desertification of the soils. Climate change comes to the point that there is that the yield in the agricultural field is reducing. We have a lot of pests due to monocultures. For example, just take the Drosophila Suzuki in Europe, and we have also the urbanization of the farmers, especially in Asian countries, where we are focusing our solution.
The different challenges in Asia include the use of too much water by agricultural countries, resulting to water stressing, worsening of climate change brought about by greenhouse gases from nitrogen-based fertilizers, natural disasters such as droughts and storms, and endemic or spread of diseases. And in terms of social aspect, there is a poor working condition in agricultural sector, resulting to the migration of farmers to the urban cities. And lastly, the lack of food security brought about by the different disasters, reducing the agricultural productivity. Thus, there is a need to use climate-smart agriculture or to tap the potential of Asian grains or indigenous food, since they have the benefits of being first adaptable to natural environment and biodiversity. And there is the need of reduced external input during farming, thus reducing their carbon footprint, and is also linked to culture and tradition of the countries growing the crop. We have researched and found a good potential from job steers, or called adlai, which comes from the quax genus. It is reported to contain up to 23% of protein and 8% of fiber, thus can be a more nutritious substitute to rice. Some Chinese studies also show that adlai has anti-cancer, antioxidant, and anti-allergy properties. Studies in Asia also reported that job steer can be resistant to prolonged drought and requires less resources and care, as few pests can affect it. A study also showed that adlai, compared to improved variety of rice and maize, has higher grain yield in different conditions, such as infertile soil.
So we came up with ready-to-eat processed job steers as emergency food. And especially for this current situation when people have limited access to food product. It is a flexible product. It could be eaten as a savory or dessert. With a commercial sterilization process, our product can be stored at ambient temperature and it have a long shelf life. This is more nutritious compared to noodles or bread. Moreover, the product will pack in a retortable carton packaging, which have less environmental impact. It also makes the distribution more efficient, as it requires less space for storage, transport, and have a lightweight compared to traditional metal cans. And it can be easily tear open without additional tool needed. For the production, to ship this product, the job steer will be harvested, dehusked, and soaked in water. Then it will be steamed first to reduce the heat treated time in the retort. The steamed job steers and additional water will be filled in the packaging in the machine. It will be sealed and the packet will go through the sterilization process and cooling, drying after. The feasibility of our product is really high, as the equipment that will be needed are currently available, such as steamer, filling and packing machine, retort, and conveyor for cooling and drying. And the studies show that the sensorial property of rice adlai mixture are found to have acceptable results.
So now coming to the benefits of this product, based on what has been explained before, that the product is going to be in a retort carton, so there is no need for refrigeration. So for sure, it's going to need less energy for storing the product, and it can be stored anywhere. And also, it's a flexible product that can be paired with other food. So if you imagine this product is somehow like barley or even like rice, but it's in the like retort carton. So when you open it, you can just mix it with other kind of dish or any other food that you want to eat together with it. And it can also be marketed as ready-to-eat food. And as mentioned before, that it is more nutritious for disaster or calamities victims as compared to instant noodles that are normally used for those kind of occasions. And also it has lower cost as compared to other kind of crops. And as for the indirect impact for this productions of these job steers, it can reduce the dependence on high environmental impact crops like rice, for example. And as job steers is quite resilient to different climate conditions, so there is even it has more sustainable potential in the future as compared to other kind of crops. And because this can be grown in any part of the country, like for example the countryside, then it can increase the income and encourage farmers to grow more and more of job steers, and in the end it can reduce the migration of farmers to the urban cities, which is like a very indirect impact for this. But overall, it has a lot of potentials to be further utilized in the futures, and by further utilizing this product, then it can give more benefits to not only farmers but also to the government and to the overall populations, especially in the Asian countries. So that's all our presentations. And to summarize all of the potentials and also the challenge that we are going to face in the future for crops, we believe that job steers can be the answer of a more sustainable future for crops. thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present our projects. And I would like to thank also all the organizers for organizing this event. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, great. Thank you very much to Team Adley for this interesting project. And we will take one question, please, from the audience. So raise your hand and we will pose your question. You can pose your question to the team.
Yeah. Christoph, you had your hand raised. Christophe.
Yes, I have two different points. The first one is about price. Is it regarding the price, the cost? Is it for consumers regarding in competition with rice, for instance? Is the price competitive or not? And the second point was about sensory analysis. I didn't. You didn't mention any tests about acceptance test about this cereal, about the acceptance, the taste in comparison with other cereals, and so on. Thank you.
For the cost of the adlai, we think that it is comparable, and we also check with the existing products. And as we said, that it doesn't need that much of resources to farm the product. So we think that it may have lesser cost as compared to rice. And as for the sensory, we mentioned in one of the slides that they conducted a research about the sensorial properties of adlai, and it has been proven that it is sensorily acceptable. And there are also countries who already produce this type of products, especially in Thailand.
So in Thailand is generally used as a dessert, but we all know that it's quite have a neutral taste, so it's very easy to incorporate and use as a rice substitute.
Yes, I think it could be also useful to develop recipes, how to use it, because you say that it could be a substitute of the rice, but it can be used also for desserts, for sweet. So I think it could be interesting also to provide also recipes.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I don't see any other question. So we will move on to our next presentation. Thank you very much to the team Adley.
Thank you.
And our next group is a team called the Eko Brands. And the Eko Brands, they will tell us about the utilization of an oat byproduct in the making of a pizza. So the Eko Brands, great. We see your screen. You can put it in presentation. And we see you.
You just have to unmute yourself, please. You're muted.
Yes. Is there no? Yeah. We have another team member, Reno.
Okay. Is he or she in the attendees, among the attendees? If so, please raise your hand. Yes. I will make you a presenter. Can the person please raise his or her hand?
Oh, there it is.
Oh yeah.
Do you see her, Ireneos?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now you should, yeah.
Hey there.
Okay, good. We see you and we hear you. Great. So please go ahead.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. So my team comprises of Reno, Ramya, and myself, Bhumika. Today we'll be presenting our project, which is utilization of oat byproducts as food and packaging ingredients for improving sustainability. A little introduction on oats. Oat is one of the crop that has been least changed by selective breeding, and it's out of the total global grain production, 1.2% is oat, of which 22.37 million metric tons are produced annually, and 35% of them are produced in EU. So why we chose oat is because growing oats is not only beneficial for the environment, but also the economic development of farmers. Using oat as a part of the crop rotation decreases soil erosion, decreases plant diseases, and also controls insects and weeds. Because oats requires less water, it prevents soil erosion. Oats can also be grown as a nurse crop with legumes, thus reducing the chemical fertilizers used on the soil. Also, because oats takes up less nitrogen, it decreases nitrate contamination. Because oats is such a low input crop, it not only helps the environment, but also gives an economic boost to farmers. In this slide, we can see the oat kernel, of which it consists of the 4 parts: the hull, bran, endosperm, and germ, of which the hull and the bran are the oat byproducts. On the right side, we can see the hull, which is 90% of insoluble fiber, and on the left side, we can see the oat bran, which consists of 3 to 17% of beta glucan. Oat, because is rich in beta glucan, has a lot of beneficial health effects. Most importantly, it helps in reducing the blood cholesterol level, and it is very helpful for people with diabetes and obesity. When we talk about the uses of oat hull and bran, which are the byproducts of oat, mostly it is used as the feedstock, and also these days the oat hull is used as a renewable energy source in place of coal. Also, because now a lot of people are starting to know the health benefits of the oat bran, it has a used as cereal, but even now it has a very limited use in the market.
So recently, the consumption of convenience food has increased, and pizza is the most common food which is liked from kids to the adults. So through the literature review that we have done, we can say that an average adult consumes approximately 10.5 kg of pizza per year. And as mentioned earlier, already we saw the benefits, which makes us say that oat is a sustainable crop. So here, the aim of our project is to utilize the byproducts of oats, such as oat hull and bran, to make the pizza base, as well as use it in the packaging. So here, first, we conducted different trials at kitchen scale, and the process includes the steps such as mixing, kneading, shaping of the pizza base, saucing, and baking it. And when we see this procedure in the industrial scale, we can see that we have weighing and mixing, kneading, cutting and portioning, fermentation, saucing, blast freezing, packaging, and we also have extra process such as data coding and metal detection and the storage. So here we conducted 15 different trials, and we also performed sensory analysis of the product. So we can see that we looked at the attributes such as the appearance, texture, and taste. And our product taste was good and liked by the panelists, even though it was not the same as the market that is the product that is available in the market. So here we can see the nutritional declaration of our product. So when we see the nutritional composition, the percentage of RI when compared to the pizza base in the market is very less, and hence we can make nutritional claims such as low fat and sugar free because we didn't add any sugar, and also it's high in fiber and low salt.
The second part of our project was also the development of edible films in order to utilize further the waste. So we use basically in a kitchen scale whey protein isolate together with oat bran in ratios of 50 to 50, and we incorporated sorbitol as a plasticizer. We casted this solution in Petri dishes and dried it for 12 hours. Certainly, you can see the film on the side. certainly we need to conduct physicochemical and mechanical examinations. However, the idea is to use together with IQ Zinc to produce a biodegradable film, which can include the pizza base in it. And the idea is to use it in a form of pillow bag in a horizontal semi-automatic machine. We need to consider that the physicochemical and mechanical properties of such packaging will be lower than conventional plastic. Therefore, we need to increase the thickness of the film. Furthermore, we examined the estimation. We estimated the shelf life of the product. We considered that it's a ready-to-bake product directly from the freezer. It has a low AW and it's exposed to high heat. Therefore, we assume no safety risks. However, we consider that there are no additives in it and a biodegradable packaging is used. Therefore, we assume that the quality will be lower faster. Therefore, by considering this, a conventional pizza can last for 12 to 18 months. We may consider our oat pizza base to last for 6 months for maintaining an optimum quality. For the estimation of cost, we considered the raw materials and we calculated this for a package of 3 pizza bases. This costs around 20 cents. In addition, the packaging cost, which is the major cost of the product, we calculated this based on PLA, which is an ingredient which is currently used for biodegradable films, and by increasing its height. So we assume a €2 increase in price. We added some indirect costs and we came up with a wholesale price of 2.5 euros. Then by adding the retail price and the VAT, we came up with the recommended retail price of 7.7 euros a kilo. And we then found out that the average price of a conventional pizza in Greece where I used to live in and in Ireland that we are currently located is around 10 euros a kilo. Furthermore, to reduce transportation costs, but also to reduce carbon dioxide emissions, we thought of obtaining the byproducts from millers within a short distance from the industry, therefore to ensure a more sustainable product. And last, as we know, oat hull is already used by some industries for as a renewable source of energy for the production of biogas. We thought of using the same method. In this way, higher oat hull will be utilized. We will reduce our costs and also the carbon dioxide emissions. In conclusion, we tried in different ways to introduce a product that will have a zero waste and will be sustainable in the end. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to the Eko Branners for their innovative project on the oat. And I see some hands are up for questions. So Alfred, please go ahead. Alfred, you are self-muted. Okay. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. This is Alfred from Vienna University for Life Sciences. I have 2 questions to the team. The first question refers to the use of hulls as food ingredient in the pizza production. Do you have any information about milling or grinding of hulls of oat? Because if the milling is not done fine enough, you will have a very rough haptic impact in sensory analysis. This is the first question. And the second question refers to one slide in your presentation. You pointed out the packaging material as edible packaging. Do you mean edible, or do you mean, as you pointed out in a later slide, biodegradable? Because there is a real difference between edible or biodegradable. These two questions maybe could you answer?
Basically, for your first question, we consider that oat hull is a quite hard and rough ingredient. Certainly, we need to finely grind it, but also we assume that when it's soaked with the water for the pizza base formation, it will become softer. And that was the case actually after we tried different trials. We had to soak it a bit more time in water to become softer, but it wasn't that hard in texture. Concerning the second question, it can, based on the experiment we did, it can be considered as edible, as sorbitol is edible also, and there are no other additives. Edible means also biodegradable, certainly, but possibly if we want to achieve better physicochemical and mechanical properties, we may need to consider adding some other ingredients which will make it not edible but biodegradable only.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to the Eko Branners. I don't see any other questions. So I will move on. Thanks very much. And on our program, we see that the Millet Revivers are next. But as we know, they went early in the program because the Spell team was kind enough at the last minute to change their slot. And so I am pleased to introduce now the Spell team, and they will tell us about spelt wheat, a perspective ingredient in cracker technology. The Spell team. Okay, we see you and we see your slides. Okay, is everyone together in the same computer?
Yes, we are.
Okay, well, then you can go ahead and begin, please.
Do you see our slides now?
No, now I don't see them.
No, pause on your showing screen.
Maybe you close, if you have other windows open, if you close the other windows, it sometimes helps.
Yes, now we see
now
them.
we see it.
Okay. It's okay, yeah?
Yes, now it's perfect. Please go ahead.
So, hello. Nice to see you all again. This is Spell Team, and my name is Victoria. I'm the leader of the group, and these are my colleagues. I don't know if you can see them, Yaroslav and Vladislav. We want to thank the organizing committee for the opportunity to participate in the competition and wish you good luck to each team. Now on the screen you can see the topic of our presentation. It's spelt wheat is perspective ingredient in crackers technology. So let's begin. Well, the first I want to say why we choose the crackers as the object of our project. Nowadays, the consumer demand for crackers is increasing due to the growing popularity of these products as universal snacks with sustainable quality during long term of storage. Also, these products characterized with a low calorie content are easy to consume and can replace bread in the absence of a constant supply of food. According to this, there is much interest in developing such products enriched with nutrients. The literature review shows that usage of spelt wheat is a prospective solution for nutritional value improvement of the pastry. It is known that spelt wheat is suitable for growing without the use of pesticides, which is challenging for the modern species of wheat, and it's characterized with valuable nutritional potential due to its chemical content. But its usage in the technology of low moisture flour products hasn't been studied well. Food specialists suggested only partial replacement of modern wheat flour with spelt for bread and pastry production. The possibility of modern wheat flour full replacement with spelt flour on grain mass in the crackers technology is shown for the first time in our project. The current trends in the baking and confectionery industry indicate the growing interest of manufacturers in expanding the raw materials assortment, which implementation leads to the product's nutritional value improvement and provides sustainable quality and safety for consumers. So, as you can see on this slide, we have a list of problems for today which should to be solved. It's growing consumers' demand for food enriched with nutrients, low nutritional value of flour products, negative ecological impact of food technology, narrow assortment of pastry based on ancient varieties of wheat. Due to this development of pastry based on spelt flour or spelt dispurgated grain maize and implementation of non-waste technologies at the same time are effective solutions for issues mentioned above. The main aim of the project is to study the efficiency of spelt whole grain flour and spelt dispurgated grain mass usage in crackers technology for the expansion of the pastry assortment and their nutritional value improvement. Project objective: investigating the influence of the spelt whole grain flour and dispurgated grain mass on the intensity of the fermentation process of crackers' semi-finished products. Evaluating the quality of crackers based on spelt wheat compared with control sample. Determination of nutritional value for crackers based on spelt flour and spelt dispurgated grain mass. On this slide, you can see a calendar plan of our project development. An integral part of it was attending webinars that helped us create the project as you see it now. In the project, whole grain spelt flour and dispurgated spelt grain mass were suggested to use for the crackers production. And from here, we are moving to the scientific part of the presentation that proves the advisability of using spelt flour in crackers technology. You can see technological parameters of semi-finished products in the table below. Moisture content of sourdough equals 55% and its fermentation period was 60 minutes, while moisture content of the dough equals 36% and fermentation period was 30 minutes. It is common technological parameters for the crackers technology. We investigated influence of whole grain spelt flour on the fermentation process of semi-finished products. Here you can see the effect of spelt on the specific volume changes in semi-finished products. This results characterize the porous structure formation of semi-finished products. The specific volume of sourdough with whole grain spelt flour was twice better than the corresponding value for the control sample at the end of fermentation. This indicator for dough was 3 times better as well. Such changes will positively affect the formation of the structure of finished products. It was found that the full replacement of modern wheat flour with spelt whole grain flour in the crackers recipe leads to high sensory characteristics formation according to the requirements of existing standards. Spelt-based samples characterized with more rich color and more intense taste and aroma. The calculation of nutritional and energy value showed that for the elaborated samples based on spelt wheat, the protein content increased by 19.5%, vitamin B5 by 83.6%, etc., compared with control. The mass fraction of carbohydrates decreased by 3.1%. To determine the effects of dispurgated grain mass preparation on the quality of semi-finished products and finished products, we studied the influence of duration of grain mass soaking period on quality. It was suggested to soak the modern wheat and spelt grain for 36 hours and 48 hours. On this slide, you can see the main stages of grain preparing process used in our project. It consists of 3 stages: cleaning, soaking, and dispurgating of wheat. It is found that the product's ability to water absorption for ancient wheat sample has increased by 4.3% compared with the control. This is due probably to the higher gas production ability in yeast semi-finished products with ancient cereals during the dough maturation. Usage of the spelt with dispurgated grain mass leads to the product's nutritional value improvement and the minimization of food waste. The full replacement of flour with ancient cereals grain mass in the low moisture flour products recipe is an effective way to use the potential of whole grain, rich in nutrients, reduce risk of diseases of civilization, including coronary heart disease, obesity, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and provide rational use of grain raw material resources. The obtained results have shown that replacing modern cultivated wheat with dispurgated ancient grain mass improves physical and chemical quality characteristics without changing their organoleptic indexes in case of 48-hour soaking period of wheat. It is important to note that the positive effect of proposed wheat variety on nutritional value of finished products. The results indicated that adding of dispurgated ancient wheat grain in the recipe of crackers leads to the increasing of the protein content by 23.4% from 37.9%, etc., compared with control. The energy value of hard text based on ancient crop was decreased by 3% due to the lower content of fast carbohydrates in its content. Based on the obtained results, we suggested to use 48-hour soaking of spelt wheat. On this slide, you can see benefits of our project. And I just shortly want to remind that in the crackers technology, the possibility of modern wheat flour full replacement with spelt flour and dispurgated grain mass is shown for the first time. The results of the project can be implemented on the confectionery and bakery small and medium enterprises with various productive capacity. It is not necessary to additional equipment installation and technological stages for the effective implementation of the suggested idea. That's all. Thank you for attention.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much to the SPEL team and to the presenter, Victoria. And we can take a question or two from the audience. So please raise your hand. Do we have someone? Okay, Alfred, thank you. Please go ahead.
This is Alfred from Vienna, University of Life Sciences. You pointed out you had a sourdough fermentation. Sourdough fermentation in cracker production. What's your target? Is it leavening the dough, or is it also an sensoric impact of not only acids but also byproducts or metabolites of sourdough fermentation?
Thank you for your question. And I just can say that it's common technology in our country. It's helped form porous structure of the dough and final product.
So it's leavening the dough and giving a lighter texture or crumb structure of the final product. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else from the audience for the SPEL team? Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you very much then to the team.
Thank you.
And we go now to our final presentation of this afternoon. Thanks to more than 50 attendees who have stayed participating throughout these 12 presentations. And our last group is the Millet team. And they will tell us about a healthy snack to achieve sustainable agriculture and to combat double burden malnutrition. The Millet team is here. We see you and we see your screen. We cannot hear you. You are muted.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect, perfect.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
All right. Dear daughter, please don't just sit and eat your snack. Do something for your society. Don't worry, Mom. Here I have a millet, a healthy snack to achieve sustainable agriculture and combat double burden malnutrition. Good afternoon. My name is Maria. Together with Rancadet and Alta Safira, we are going to present our project, Millet, a mile closer to a sustainable earth. Background. So we align our project with the Sustainable Development Goals from United Nations. First, we address the double burden of malnutrition, which aligns with the third goal of SDG. In 2016, WHO reported 1.9 billion adults are overweight. On the other hand, 1/3 children and 462 million adults are undernourished. Furthermore, iron deficiency is the main rank among 26 risk factors of the Global Burden Diseases 2000. Second, we also address the environmental issues, which aligns with the 6th and 12th goals of SDG. Currently, agriculture is the largest water exploiter, which consumes 70% of the global water. And food processing contributes to the highest amount of organic water pollutants. For both health and environmental issues, a solution from food sector is highly expected. Therefore, we do the market analysis. We see the opportunity of potential special needs market with vegan and vegetarian, which comprise 8% of global population, 60% of lactose intolerant, and salt, sugar, and gluten sensitive groups, including those with celiac diseases, diabetes, and also hypertension. Second, we also observe the emerging trends of ready-to-eat foods, especially extruded snacks. As you can see from the graph, there's a huge increase of market size from 2013 to 2019. Mainly, they use corn and rice, modern grains, as the main ingredients. For a more sustainable business of RTE foods, we offer a solution for replacing modern grains with ancient grains, which consume less water, less fertilizer, and less attractive to pass. They also have the shorter growing period. For all the problems and the opportunity we observe, we offer one solution, Millet, a convenient snack utilizing millet and amaranth, which is environmentally friendly, good source of protein, iron, and fiber, and suitable for niche markets with special needs. Then we go for formulation and process design. All ancient grains are nutritious and environmentally friendly. But why amaranth and millet? Because we care not only about quantity but also quality. Amaranth and millet are good source of protein, fiber, and iron. Millet is high in essential amino acids, particularly methionine and cysteine, but limiting in lysine and tryptophan. Therefore, combining it with amaranth will result in a good quantity of protein and also more complete essential amino acids in the final product.
And moving on to the process design, we choose second generation extrusion as a production process for amamile because of 4 factors. The first one is because it is cost efficient. Even though the setting up cost of the extrusion line is more expensive, but in long run it will be more cost efficient compared to other process. Secondly, it is because of energy efficient, as extrusion consume lower energy than baking and frying process. It also gives flexibility to wide range of product size and shapes, and also no frying process required, which is a good for consumer health, and also no frying oil waste generated. And the formulation, we will mix of amaranth flour with pearl millet flour and starch with soy protein concentrate as additional protein source, and also with yeast extract. No salt or frying oil is required in the formulation. With a comparable recipe that we found in the articles, the sensory acceptance score is 8.5 out of 10. For the production process, we receive the raw materials in powder form, mixing with water to adjust the moisture content to the desirable levels. The mix will then go to extrusion and drying with the optimum setting that we found in the articles. The final product will have moisture content of 1.5% maximum. No flavor coating step is required for the cost optimization purpose, and the product will go to fillings and packing. For safety aspect, 3 CCP were pointed out throughout the production line. The first one is control of mycotoxin in raw materials receiving. Second is the control of pathogenic bacteria in cooking steps. And last is the control of physical contamination in packing. With the amamile project, we have divided sustainability point into 3 aspects. The first one is the raw materials. As we said that we go for ancient grains. So low to none amount of fertilizer or pesticides are required in growing. The crop itself have shorter growing time compared to modern grains, and it is tolerant to extreme environment and soil conditions. Second is because of the extrusion process. No frying oil waste generated, and energy and cost efficient as well. And lastly is about the packaging, as we will use a recyclable grade materials.
So how the product design would be and what the impact? Amamile is a nitrogen snack with 100 grams size per pack and 30 grams of serving size. We design and formulate amamile and position it as a healthy snack with high in fiber, source of protein and iron, low sodium and saturated fat, and sugar-free. We design amamile with modified atmosphere packaging with nitrogen to reduce the oxidations. Thus, the shelf life of amamile will be 6 months in ambient temperature. Concerning about how amamile would be in the market, we identify the internal strengths and weaknesses, and also the external opportunities and threats to prepare for further business development. For industrial scale, amamile is targeted into 2 different markets, low income and high income. The minimum selling price of amamile will be 20 cents per pack in developing countries with the productivity of 150,000 packs per day. With our industrial line proposals, the payback periods of amamile will be faster, which is 3 years and 1 month, compared to the commercial industrial line of snack with flavoring, coating, and frying. Beyond all economical factors, amamile is aimed for purposeful impact to the world. First, because of different nutrients in amamile, it could address the underweight and also overweight of combating double burdens of malnutrition. Later on, amamile can grab special needs markets as an option for snacking. And amamile is an environmentally friendly snack with the ingredients and also processes. Not only about the product, but Amamile has a value to increase the sustainability of ancient grains in several sectors. Aligning Amamile values, we also need to increase the awareness of ancient grains with multi-touch points, starting with international organizations and national governments in their executions of policies and also recommendations, that it will be followed in food manufacturing in their interesting of ancient grains in their productions, and as the result, there will be a rise of consumption in the consumers and also the crop preference shifting in the farmers. So please don't hesitate to scan the references with our barcode for more information. I'm Millie, a ambassador
to a sustainable Earth. Thank you.
Thank you so much for a super close to our final virtual conference. We have some time for a question or two for the Amamillets team, please.
Yes.
The audience, the floor is yours. Christoph, I see you have a question.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question regarding the packaging you are using for the commercialization of Amamillet. First question is, of course, is it biodegradable, and is it made by the stems and I would say from the plants from amaranth or not? Or is it completely different? Because you say that you were using also the waste, I would say, from amaranth and to produce packaging, to use it for the fabrication of packaging. Is it the same packaging? Because you say that you are using also metallization. You use a fold of metal fold. So it's just to get some precision.
Okay. For the current design that we have, we will go for the metallized stream, like a commercial one, as it gives the best protection to the product and will extend the shelf life of the product.
Yes, I know. Okay, but you know that for biodegradable.
Then why we say it's a sustainable option, because we can do upcycling. No, sorry, we don't go for biodegradable packaging, because the biodegradable packaging, in some journals we observe that it cannot provide the good protection to the product that we aim. So we go for the metal.
Yes, I know, but there is, you can find a compromise. There are other options, but it's okay.
Yes, and furthermore, we also already plan for the upcycling of the packaging, as we already designed and also search for the articles. How can we do with our packaging to make it more sustainable? Like for this, we can do the recycle.
We can do both, like upcycling and also recycling into the packaging waste into other new items or products.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We can take one more question if there is another question in the audience.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, so I have one specific question regarding your process because I saw your ingredients. Do you have like a literature supporting the fact that you can use millets completely in an extrusion process? And what kind of extrusion are you using, single screw or twin screw? Because your ingredients will definitely change with that as well.
Okay, thank you for your question. Actually, we can provide you with the journal that we have here. Okay, so we found a journal that said about the combination with per millet, 85% of flour and 15% of the starch of permeate. So it's completely mealy, but combining that when the whole flour and also the starch. And the results say that it has a good and desirable sensory evaluation. As you can see, from the panelists that they observe, it has the final score of 88.5 out of 10.
And the type of the screw that you said, we decide to go with a double screw.
Yeah. And from the article also mentioned about the whole setting that
will optimize the energy consumption.
Yeah.
And when you are talking in the process, when you're talking that extrusion is energy efficient, you were saying you do not need to use baking. But then when you are doing the drying, it's a kind of a baking, and you'll be using the steam and excess energy. Because in extrusion, you get you won't be getting a very low moisture, which would be edible, or you can pack it. You have to dry it as you have in your process as well. So in addition, it becomes like extrusion plus baking, so that basically lowers the energy efficiency of your process.
Actually, for as you already mentioned, that the baking also takes place in our process. However, the baking process will not take that long time because we have the extrusion prior to the baking. So the baking is only for achieving the desirable moisture content that we want for the final product. It's not we don't do baking from the beginning of the process because it will take long and more energy. Yeah, more energy consuming.
And do you think a product without any kind of a seasoning would be acceptable in the market because you are not doing any kind of flavor coating or seasoning application?
Okay, so actually we already do the seasoning with the yeast extract. Then it is actually our basic formulation that later on in the future we can do the scaling up with with another seasoning lines. We also have another journals and trends that will also follow with the ethnical strategies. So it is actually based on the preferences of the consumers.
We do sampling of the market here. We have the variant of something similar with the mealy flavor, which is nutty and grainy. So we limit the option of unnatural flavoring ingredients, and we choose the one which is heat resistant, so we can include it in the mixing process.
Yeah, and as we show in this sensory profile, the grain itself giving a nutty flavors, and this is like the presentation that we give is just the first original formulation. With the flavor added will be like our next project on the line extension project.
Yeah. For example, you can add chili powder or garlic powder during mixing because it is also heat resistant, not the unnatural flavoring, which is not suitable for heat process.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you. No, I stop you here now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your thorough answers to the questions from the audience. And now we have had the presentations of the 12 teams. And at this time, we take a break. We will stop the GoToWebinar for 10 to 15 minutes while we tally all of the evaluators' final scores. So please stay connected to GoToWebinar, although you will just see our introductory slide. And we will come back as soon as we have completed the tally of the scores. Is that right, Line?
Yes. So don't turn off GoToWebinar. Stay tuned and we will resume again in 10 minutes.
Okay,
Okay, so have a nice break.
Yeah, stretch your legs and see you soon. Okay. Okay, so we are back.
You're all there.
Yeah, I think there are still, yeah, the most of the audience is still here. Thank you so much for your patience while we sorted out the scores. And I believe I have to make myself the presenter now so that I can share my screen, right?
Yeah.
Do you?
I can make you presenter.
Can you please? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I can show my screen. Okay, how's that? Looking good, Line?
Yes, yes, it looks good now.
Super. So we are back for the final 2 minutes, the closing of the FoodFactory for Us competition. And welcome back. Thanks to all of you for staying with us throughout this competition and giving your full attention to the 12 teams. So a big thanks to all the teams. Go ahead, Line.
Yeah, before we announce the winning team, we would like to express our gratitude to all of you for participating in the competition. For us, it was a real pleasure to work with you. And we also really want to thank all of you. I mean, we can only announce one winning team, but before we do that, we really want to thank all of you for having worked so hard the last 4.5 months. You all produced really, really high quality project reports and presentations, and you did it also voluntarily and independently, which is also something that has to be honored. What we also really enjoyed was your active participation in all the webinars. You were really great at asking us questions, but also the other teams, which is always a real pleasure. And we have the feeling, even though we're sitting in different parts of the world, that we're all somehow close to each other, which is really nice. And now that we've read and we heard about all your presentations and your projects, it's really impressive how you found really great solutions that are innovative and I'm sure also doable and certainly of interest to the food industry. And we also had, or maybe also we still have representatives from industry. The ideas that you developed and the tools and the actions are definitely something that is contributing to sustainability in the, if not the cereal chain, but also in the whole food value chain. So for that, we are really grateful and we want to express our gratitude for that. But as we say, we have to find a winner.
Yeah, and we can only announce one winner, and it was very close, especially at the top. We had 3 or 4 teams separated by a very small amount, but we had to take the team with the highest points, and that was only one team, and that team is Amamillet. Congratulations to the Amamillet team for winning the FoodFactory for Us International Student Competition. Congratulations to you.
Yeah.
You will give your presentation at an international conference. Thank you to the ICC for sponsoring that. Thank you to the AHDB and ISEKI-Food for sponsoring cash prizes to help you get to that conference. And we are thrilled. We will be in contact with you, of course, about that prize and how to put it into action.
Yes, and finally, we'd also like to thank all of the audience for attending this final conference. It was a pleasure for us to see all of you, and we also please encourage you to fill in the evaluation form that you will receive after the end of the webinar today or next week, but please fill it in. It's very important that we hear your opinion about the way in which we organize these webinars and so that we can improve in the future. And if you have any questions, you're very welcome to send them to Catherine and me on the email address you see here on the slide. You can also find more information on the website of the FoodFactory for Us competition.
Yes, I remind you that this competition is one in a series, so please stay tuned to our website and to the ISEKI-Food newsletter, and you can learn about the upcoming competitions. That's for teams and for the audience. This webinar was recorded. You can go back and look at the team presentations because we did announce Amma Millet, our winning team, but we stress how all of the teams gave superb presentations.
Yeah. Exactly. You can find all the links to this recording on the website and the presentation or slides also.
So with that, we say goodbye.
Yes, we do.
We do.
Thank you to all of you and have a nice weekend and all the best in the future.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, and thank you for organization. Thank you.
Bye, Line.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.